Rams. There's some people think that the Rams did a good job in picking up Davante Adams, and that they could be essentially with this, going for the NFC East, NFC West crown, and blah blah blah. But what I want to talk about, and shout out to our boys at East Coast Gridiron, they talked about. Remember when they was talking to us about quarterback, and they mentioned Dorian Thompson-Robinson, which is another quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Yes,
I just read an article just a little while ago that the Cleveland Browns are trading for Eagles quarterback Kenny Pickett, sending Philadelphia a 2025 fifth-round pick and quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. League sources told ESPN Adam Schefter.
The Eagles are playing chess.
The Eagles, exactly. Kev, I'm like, yo, they just keep doing little stuff, man, and people don't even realize it's stuff like this.
They are the LA Dodgers of the NFL right now.
Yo, man, shout out to the Eagles, bro. Like they are moving in a way that I don't think people really like paying attention to what they're doing. DA alluded to it earlier.
I gotta put the big green sign up there, man, because they playing chess. That's the first I heard that. That's huge. That's huge.
God, I mean, and here the Browns talk about they looking for a quarterback. I said that I think they.
Buckle up, sports fanatics. This is the Sports Chasers Podcast, your HQ for in-depth sports talk. Join host Kevin L. Warren and crew as they dissect the hottest stories, ignite debates, and bring you closer to the action. From locker room whispers to expert takes, we cover it all. It's game time, so strap in and grab a drink. The Sports Chasers Podcast starts right now.
Hey, good evening. What's going on? What's happening, everybody? It's another edition of the Sports Chasers Podcast coming to you live and direct. It's a Monday. It's the draft special that we all been talking about the last couple of weeks, man. We're hanging out here, East Coast
Gridiron. Oh, sorry.
It's tonight, and thank you, D, for messing up my thought. How are you tonight, sir? Since you messed me up.
You don't know, boy. I got this computer held together with like Gorilla Tape, glue, and spit. So
we need
to make it happen, though.
Hey, make sure you like, click, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you also on the podcast inside you're hearing the sound of my voice. Make sure you give us that 5-star review. That 5-star review. Love us or hate us. Let us know how you feel about us. We take all the smoke and we get smoke back also, man. So listen, I'm as you can see, we hanging out with ECG tonight. And hey, I didn't get traded to ECG. I'm just supporting them tonight, man, with their cap. I still got the Sports Chasers right here, and I still got the sound up there, right? So just for those that want to know, hey, what's going on here? What do we got going on here? I just love my peoples and I love supporting them, man. So, hey, let's introduce them tonight. They are no strangers to the show. Let's start off with Khalid. Khalid, what's going on, brother? How are you doing tonight, sir?
Yo, man, I'm doing great. Like I said before the show, just got some school, working on finishing up my senior year here at Texas A&M, but I'm super pumped, to be on the show here, talk some draft prospects. I mean, this weekend is like one of the biggest of the year. Everyone looks forward to it every single year after the Super Bowl. So I'm just ready to talk some football, man.
I'm ready. Me too, Khalid. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, man. Hey, like I said, one of my hero for ECG, my main man, Sora. What's up, brother? How are you doing tonight, sir?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. Getting ready to go ahead and starting this off of a busy week of content that we got. Yeah, pretty much every day this week is gonna be content out, and I know it's probably gonna be the same for a bunch of other people. So just kind of like buckling in, and it's like, all right, it's time to get her going.
It's time to do it. And my mother main man, Dante, what's up, brother? How are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, can't complain. This is probably like my favorite week outside of opening week of football for sure. Watching these guys from the high school ranks to the college ranks. It's almost like with family when we watch them so much, you know what I'm saying? And you get real happy for these guys when they get drafted. So yeah, we're ready to talk some prospects tonight with you guys for sure. So thanks for inviting us again, man. We definitely appreciate it.
Sure.
Oh man, absolutely. I would like to absolutely make this some kind of tradition, man. So we hang out.
May I say something?
Yes. Go ahead, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey Dante, what you just said, man, and me and Kev talk about this game all the time. And guys who play Madden and whatnot. Y'all remember the high school Madden when the dudes went from high school to college to the pros?
Absolutely.
That was absolutely the best game ever made.
You remember the college football games where like you had your girlfriend's picture on the wall, and then your notoriety went up. She started out as a fat chick, and then she went to like a superstar.
Yeah,
no, like
better you were, the hotter the girl. Yeah,
yeah, they were. Yeah. That's probably why it's
nasty word.
Right?
Yeah, you can't do that no more.
No, you better not.
That's probably why they got canceled.
Probably a little bit.
Davante's first string, and his girlfriend is Beyonce. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to D-Dubs. D-Dubs won't be on camera tonight, but he'll be on. Can you hear us, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay, man. Well, good evening. How are you? What's going on?
Good. What's up, fellas? Yo, man, I couldn't have missed it tonight, man. But I'm moonlighting right now. So
okay, well, we want you to yeah, don't be on camera.
I'm just chiming in. Yeah.
We appreciate you. And shout out to D-Dubs, man. I appreciate his dedication and what's going on. So, like I said, we did kind of like we did before, and I played a precursor. I actually played like a little clip before the show started of actually D-Dubs actually giving love to the East Coast Gridiron when they talked about I can't think of his name.
Dorian Thompson
Robinson. And you guys called it. And as I said, man, you guys are like, if you go over to their channel, East Coast Gridiron on YouTube, man, they drop so much content and stuff when it comes to the world of football. And when I mean they dissect football, film and all that stuff for all you football junkies, hey, man, go over there to them, support it. All our people on that channel, go support the East Coast Gridiron, man, because like I said, they are a wealth of information. And when it comes to the world of football, and I so appreciate them tonight joining with us, man. Anytime I ask Dante to come through, man, he brings the crew. And, we usually have a good time, man. So we're going to start nonetheless. I guess, who's on the clock? I'll give it to Dante. Go ahead, bro.
Who's on the clock? So talk about the player that we like the most, or how are we doing this tonight?
Let's do it this way. Let's do kind of like who's going to get drafted, who should get drafted. So like you say number one is Ward. They say no, it should be.
Yeah, I think it's mutually agreed upon that Cam Ward is going to be the first one off the board for the Titans, even though we've on a lot of shows have disagreed with that motion that it should be him, and
so that maybe it should be.
I think it should be Travis Hunter. I think he gives them a lot more value there, and I don't like. I always like to give people a 3-year rule, right? Because most rookie contracts last that long. So why not let Will Levis just ride it out one more time, and you give him an excuse to be bad, right? You go out there and you draft as many weapons for him as possible, and say, if you don't do well with these weapons, we did all that we could do to make you successful, and nobody would ever complain about a young talent going under the bus, right? I think teams. They don't represent who's supposed to be their quarterback very, very well. It's just on to the next guy, and I don't think that's how you build a team.
Especially when it's like the weapons in this draft class are really good. Like no matter where you look, receiver, running back, tight end. Yeah. We don't know what next year's draft class in those positions will look like, but we do know like next year you're gonna have guys like Drew Alar, maybe like a Lenora Sellers, Arch Manning. You already know some of the quarterbacks that are gonna be coming out next year because they have to. Because of their seniors, or they're like projected to, and you look at those and you go, man, those are way better quarterbacks than like the quote unquote like only media consensus, the quote unquote only 2 quarterbacks worthy of a first round in Sanders and Ward.
Yeah,
and you look at a guy like Travis Hunter and how vocal he's been in wanting to play both offense and defense in the NFL for a team like the Titans, who frankly are pretty in need of talent across the board.
Of both of those. Outside of L'Jarius Sneed, who do you have at corner?
Yeah, you're drafting two starters, essentially, two key contributors in one player. So for a team that just needs talent, right, across the board, go get yourself Travis Hunter in a 2-for-1 who can be a lockdown corner. And also, he can go out there and he can be, a complementary weapon to Calvin Ridley, right? For Will Levis, whoever that may be. So, I mean, I do see that as a better value pick than Cam Ward, especially like Sora said, next year's quarterback class, it looks like it's going to be a lot better than this year's in terms of first round talent.
I think you guys have talked me into it. I always thought, from the business perspective, Tennessee, Travis puts butts in the seats, and Will Levis does not.
Well, especially now that he got his jersey retired, there's a lot of eyeballs on him right now, too.
I mean, you
can say what you want about that, but,
I don't think Cam Ward's going to be that type of splash first year. And I don't believe any quarterback should play first year. You guys know that. I said that last year. I think I'm on the old Bill Parcells thing. I need you to sit, watch, get it together, and then play when you're ready, right? I think that formula works. The other one really doesn't work that well. So, okay, so we got Cam Ward is the guy that they say, but we believe it should be Travis Hunter. Okay, cool. Number 2 is who?
Well, before we go on to the Browns, I want to say something also, Dante. You said something about we give up on the quarterbacks so early, and I totally agree. I heard something about the Colts. I don't know if you heard this about them just possibly moving on from Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is 22 years old. What was this? This is his second year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going into his third year.
Going into his third year.
Going into his third year, but he was injured like pretty much majority of his rookie year.
I do have a caveat with that, Kev, but keep going.
I
can agree with that caveat.
Why don't we, like you said, give him a chance? But also in the landscape of that too, with NFL teams, look at my Giants. I see what they're doing as far as quarterbacks. Those guys don't want to get fired. Yeah. And so they picked up a couple of quarterbacks so they can more realistically sustain their job, their job security. So that's what I'm thinking. But go ahead with your caveat about Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I still agree with my sentiment that you should still give him a chance. But with Anthony Richardson, he never should have been chosen number 4 overall in the first place because he's never won anywhere. And I don't know what the evaluators were looking at. Like, he never won in high school. Then he went to Florida. We watched the film the one year. We're like, kid has a ton of talent. Let's see if he can unleash it. Week 1, they go to Utah, beat the crap out of Utah. And everybody's like, Anthony Richardson, Heisman. We even said it. Like, there we go. This is what we saw. But the rest of the year was mediocre at best. And it's like you got to
also full of even more injuries, yeah.
And that team was talented, and then it just fell on deaf ears. It was, Billy Napier and all this other stuff, and it's really like Anthony Richardson wasn't able to elevate your team the way he was supposed to, like all the other quarterbacks in that draft. But because he has a big arm, a lot of people were just banking on. And I think Shane Steichen, to be honest, was biting off a little more than he could chew, being the head coach, and he understood that, like, look, I've been known as the quarterback guy, turning quarterbacks around, taking a Jalen Hurts and making him what he was before, they passed him off now. But it's like Jalen Hurts was a winner everywhere he was.
Yeah.
And again, Anthony Richardson wasn't. And I don't count wins as a stat, but like, come on. We watched Florida that year, and we're like, there's definitely a missing link. Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a missing link here for the Florida Gators.
Well, and
it's the quarterback.
With Anthony Richardson, you look at like his first year back up to Emory Jones.
Right.
Came in for, this was Dan Mullen's last year, came in for like a couple trick plays. Obviously, he had the
athletic ability,
the merch store and everything, because he's out here hurdling guys from FAU and USF, all that stuff.
Shout out to FAU down here where I'm at.
And then, gets injured in the team hotel before the big game against Alabama because he did a backflip and he tweaked something. And he's had like this nagging injury since high school, and just, coming on and out before then, like before he was a full-time starter, injured, so didn't take as much snaps. We wrote it out with Emory Jones, got 4 wins, no surprise there. Then full starter under Billy Napier the first year. Obviously, like we talked about, we had the Utah game where, that one was won because Cam Rising threw a bad pass to Amari Burney, and that was the only thing that linebacker did all season was week 0 actually, and then that was it. He was done. So yeah, it's just Indy was banking off of the big arm, the athleticism. I mean, dude's freakishly tall,
and he's a media darling too. Like, you listen to Anthony Richardson talking, you root for him, and that's the hardest part about this whole thing for us is like, you're such a good kid, man. Like, if you put it all together, you would be a superstar. I've even seen him live.
Like, we were almost front row at that Florida Arkansas game as well, where like Big Des stiff arm Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, but when you quit on your team at halftime, or not at halftime, but like the third quarter going out too, I think to me that tells me right there. That tells the whole organization that we don't have the right guy. Will Levis is not doing that. I mean, he's on the sideline acting like a diva, but like they're losing a lot. So I kind of get it from his perspective, and he gets upset about that. But Anthony Richardson walking out on your team, like that tells me right there, you draft another quarterback and have him as a backup. So that's why I don't think like it's a caveat there. But
gotcha.
Yeah, that's
I was tired.
Yeah, I was tired. Like, what? No, you're not an NFL quarterback, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, true that.
I get EP at times, bro. I can't help it.
I look at John Elway back when they was playing the Green Bay Packers and him spinning around.
I was about to say the helicopter spin.
The helicopter spin going out for his team.
Yeah.
Like, I look at stuff like that when I'm a young kid, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be like John Elway.
I mean, you say that.
I'm looking at Anthony Richardson.
Most recently, I mean, let's go back to guys like Matthew Stafford, who literally popped his shoulder back in, threw a touchdown. Carson Wentz, even though he's not like as great now, threw a touchdown on a torn ACL. And then, of course, Andrew Luck's entire NFL career.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace, like.
Yeah, you can't follow up being the main guy after Andrew Luck was there. It's not a good look.
That dude was a serious quarterback, though.
That one was bug tears were shed.
I damn near shed a tear that day. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I damn near, because I'm his age. So when he retired, I actually called my wife. I'm like, I don't feel good today. She's like, wow. I was like, I don't usually get upset about sports stuff and stuff I can't control. But I was like, Andrew Luck retired, man. They treated him dirty.
In Indianapolis that day,
and then they booed him. I'm like, bro, this man.
I was at work, and those people went like absolutely ape shit. When it came out, I was working for a company called Beep Beep, and I used to have to walk past there from the hotel to their office building, and man, that was a bad day to be in Indianapolis. Boy.
Yeah,
bad day to be a Colts fan.
I'd like to think of it as like the meme, like when Shannon Sharp left Undisputed, and he's like, I want you to know when you laid the head on that, or your head on that pillow, that I gave it everything. That was Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was that before that was even a meme.
I don't watch press conferences that often, but I tuned in to see what he was going to say, and I wanted to read that room and see like if he was really serious or not.
Right.
And I told my wife, I was like, that's the look of a man that gave everything he had. And the final straw was the fans booing him, and he knew he wasn't going to play football no more. For his own mental.
Halftime too, and I was like,
he was a broken man at that point in time. I was like, he's never coming back. We can wish, Andrew, come back. Andrew already said, my family's taken care of. I got all the money in the world. And I'm smart.
Stanford,
I went to Stanford. I got my architecture degree. I'm good. I can do other things than play football and have a lacerated spleen every single year.
Yeah, and the reality is that, remember, his father is a professional quarterback, so his father gave him advice to listen, dude, you're good.
Absolutely.
I've seen this. I've seen that. Don't do this anymore. I can see where you're going, how the team is built. They're really not. You're doing a little too much. So I remember we got to keep moving on. But I had a quarterback with the Niners that did. Not quarterback, linebacker with the Niners that
Patrick Willis.
Not him. The one after Patrick Willis, the kid from Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Willis McGahee?
No.
The linebacker.
Linebacker.
I know who you're talking about.
He was on 20 tackles a day, dude. Like
Chris Board
game.
It was Chris Board, right?
Yeah. Borland, right?
Yeah, Chris Borland. Yep.
And he was like, "Yo, I'm done. You just got kind of accept it." So the Cleveland Browns. So if Travis goes to Tennessee, then who goes to Cleveland?
Well, we got Cam going to the Titans. We're just saying that.
I know. We got what you want to have happen and what should happen. So
yeah, I think obviously Travis Hunter goes to the Browns. You know, if Cam goes to the Titans,
Cam goes because their three biggest needs are corner, edge, and wide receiver. With Travis Hunter, that's 2 out of 3 of them right there.
Right.
Yeah.
You've already got Myles Garrett, one of, if not the best defensive edges. You can find a later edge talent in like the 2nd or 3rd round.
Probably.
You know, you got the boys out in Ohio State. Jack Sawyer will probably be there like round 2, maybe even round 3. You can go with him. And again, it's kind of like with what it was with Tennessee. Outside of your cornerback 1 and your wide receiver 1, you don't have a lot in that depth. So
there could be a lot of places he goes to. They go look in the room. He's the only one in the room. So yeah, he'll be running from room to room. So yeah, it's very interesting with Travis. He's a great player. So
I mean, I have as a wild card that the Raiders should trade up to 2 and get him. I think that would be the perfect spot.
They have picks. What would they be giving up?
I don't know. They'd have to give up something to get up there. But yeah, I would. I mean, the 1st rounder and probably their 3rd round and a player, or however they want to spin it. But I even think that's worth it for what they got. I mean, take Trey Tucker in that deal and get the better. And I don't want to say he's a better wide receiver. That's kind of hard to say when you talk about rookies. Like, you don't know how they're going to pan out. But they seriously need a corner. But he just seems like he'd be really good for that market too, because he's, all he does is play football, video games, and work out. He'll be a really good Pete Carroll guy, and Pete Carroll put his arm around him, and he's gonna love the hell out of that kid once he gets there. So I think that would be like a no-brainer for me, but I don't know if they got that kahunas to do it.
They have to give up the 6, and probably the 3rd, like you said, a player of some sort. So
yeah.
I guess
Michael Mayer. They already had Michael Mayer on the trade block for the longest time, so I would imagine that he goes because Brock Bowers is there.
But with David Njoku,
yeah,
I mean, the Browns do be loving David Njoku. I don't know how much they would. I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting.
He was a good tight end. I like him. I know he's with the Browns, and people don't really see a lot of him, but
he's been a slow riser. But every single year he's gotten better and better and better. So as long as he's healthy, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, just like Charlie said, I think if the Raiders want to move up from 6 to 2, unless they're giving up a premium player in that deal, they're going to have to give up not only number 6 but also a future 1st round pick. That's the precedent of moving, into the top 5, even if you're already, in the top 10. So Houston kind of laid the groundwork for what a deal for the Raiders would look like if
especially
they wanted
a Heisman winner too. So you got to add that into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I didn't even think about that. Kind of raises the price,
and a talent like him that we've never really seen before. So yeah, it goes into who really needs it. I mean, to me, a 2-way player helps out any team in the league because it's so flexible. You could do so many different things.
That's what I was thinking. It's he kind of has the world by the So
yeah.
No, you know what? Screw it. Howie, trade up to 2, get Travis Hunter. Why not? Just put him on Philly. See what happens.
That would be ridiculous.
That would be maddening.
If that happened, like one of the later teams, like from Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, or Philly, like traded up and got Hunter, if he was like dropping, I would just leave the stream. I'm like, I'm not coming back. I'm not. Just donate to St. Jude. I'm not coming back.
Well, that would be, like you said, a lot of. I don't know. That's a lot, man. That's a lot, sir. So, what are the Giants going to do at 3? Is it going to be Abdul? I always said best player, but
it's so that I think it's going to be Abdul Carter.
I think so too.
But I don't like having like a premier edge rusher and Brian Burns,
Right.
and then you have Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side.
That's what I was about to say. Yes,
and but the thing was with that, when I looked at some stats last night, and I believe like Brian Burns was number 14 in quarterback pressures, and Kayvon was like number 18. So it's not terrible. And it's like
I've also seen just a lot of they are just not happy with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Well, because he was supposed to be this otherworldly talent, and then end up being that. But like, you're sending a primetime player like that to one of the, not the worst markets, but one of the best markets to play in if you're a good player. And when you're not a good player, I mean, you understand this, Kim, because you're a New York Giants fan. It's almost like you either do well or you die there. Like it's
well,
like
I thought Thibodeau plays okay. He's not great, but he's sure enough not trash.
Exactly.
I would honestly say, and it's weird because they still. I mean, I more than likely they'll still do the 3-4, but I would honestly kind of look at a Mason Graham like a Mason Graham instead.
Well,
no, we won't. Mike Bristol, we will not be doing that. I'm sorry. I'm speaking for the time. No, we won't.
You shut that
no,
real quick.
I can tell you right now from all the organizations in the NFL, they are on Twitter and everywhere listening to what everybody's saying. And if you bring Shedeur Sanders there, I've been in so many Twitter spaces with Giants fans, they would absolutely hold the gun up to their head and switch to the Jets real quick.
Correct. Well, I have seen a lot of
doing that, but
we're going to Buffalo. We're going to Buffalo.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you got two choices, Kev. Either a Jets fan or a Bills fan. Which one you want?
Rodgers is gone. He can't hurt you anymore.
Oh yeah, for real.
Yeah, maybe I'll go across the hallway.
I have seen a lot of it. I want to get because I was mentioning this in our Discord, but I want to get y'all's opinion on it, Kevin and DA. I've seen a lot of, or not a lot of, but there was potentially one talk that kind of blew up of Giants taking Genty and then like going Milroe in the second.
Yeah,
I saw that today too.
Would be actually. I like Genty. I think he runs hard, he catches. You know, he has a lot of receptions. He can pretty much do about what Saquon was doing, but again, then
he'll be an Eagle in like 5 years.
Yeah.
When Saquon retires.
Yes.
But Genty,
stop it, please.
Genty is a locomotive, though. So you got Tyron Tracy.
I don't know how much the Giants have really invested in the offensive line for running
we
back.
Haven't.
That should be your pick right there. And this is what we were talking about in our mock draft. We said Will Campbell.
Yeah.
Will Campbell is there, and he's either going to play guard or tackle, and that's a good problem to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let me say this as a Giant fan. We have not really addressed the offensive line. What's my main man? What's his name?
Eric Thomas.
No, I would say talking about this all not started, but when Eric Flowers was there, right? He was touted to be this great tackle.
It's a name I haven't heard in a while.
But that's when all of this nonsense with the Giants and not addressing when he didn't pan out, and then it just looked like pick after pick after pick. The Giants have not addressed the offensive line, and that's why I was not mad as a Giant fan when Saquon went to the Eagles. I said because he never was going to do any of that stuff with the Giants, with the trash offensive line that they have not addressed either. And Dante, I'm with you. I was like, hey, okay, the edge rusher, we might need to look at we should be looking at an offensive line, building within out, right? That's one of the mantras of building a football team. You build within the trenches, right? And then you pick your running back, and then you're outside, and you go from that point. But that's what I was thinking of. And yes, Eric Flowers. Yes, a blast from the past.
Let me ask you this.
Let me ask you guys a question real quick. Yeah. The difference between Will Campbell and Armand is
drastically different.
Drastically.
One plays primarily left side of the field, and Armand only has played right. Yeah.
Correct.
So you don't think when they move. So you think when he moves up, he's going to be a right tackle?
Absolutely.
He doesn't have any other tape that proves otherwise that he can do anything else.
He was also one of the
He might play right guard. That's about it. They're not going to switch him to the other side.
Okay.
If anything, that would be moving Evan Neal to right guard and then Armand into right tackle.
I think playing left tackle is better from this standpoint. I heard this from an offensive line coach. If you're playing left tackle primarily, it's easy to move you on anywhere else on that offensive line besides center because now you're using more of your right hand dominant for most people, right? So if it was left hand dominant, then it'll be easier to switch Armand Mimbo to the left side, but he's not. He's a right-handed right tackle. So that I heard that. I think I heard that from whatchamacallit up there with the Eagles. What's his name? Jeff Stoutland. Yeah. I think I heard that from Jeff Stoutland one time in one of his seminars. I forgot what I was going to add. Oh, Kev, primarily for you, since you're a Giants fan, and I truly believe this. A lot of people call me a Daniel Jones fanboy. But I truly believe that offensive line and the combination of having injured receivers year after year after year and 3 head coaches, come on, man. This is what I was talking about. You have to give every excuse of why your quarterback is bad, and I don't think the Giants did that enough for Daniel Jones, and it just ruined his career. And now, I mean, if he goes up there and he starts over Anthony Richardson and does well, then you don't even know, bro. Y'all are going to be throwing stones with the Giants and be like, why didn't we? Because he's going up there with the number 5 best offensive line now.
And we always say that on our show too, man. Continuity means everything. If the guy has had 5 offensive coordinators within the first 3 years that he's been with the organization, what do you expect? What's the expectation that you think that he can be successful? And I think the Giants have not placed their quarterback, Daniel Jones, in a successful thing. And he wasn't a pick of this regime, right? He was Dave Gettleman pick. And we went up and grabbed him like somebody else was going to grab him, and that's a whole nother story. So this is where we're at. You know, we had to. He's not a $500 bottle of wine. He's actually, Manischewitz, for all my people out there, all the drinkers out there. And so he wasn't really that. And then you have to do all these other things to make sure that he should succeed. And this is what happened with the Giants, man. So
yeah, I think it's unfortunate, man, for sure. And I look at myself of I would feel bad just being a former offensive coordinator. I would feel bad, us changing our scheme every single year, and then me replacing the quarterback because he's having a bad performance, and then the first year quarterback that's his backup, this is the only system that he's learned, does well, and everybody's like, bench Daniel Jones. Well, I'm like, Daniel Jones has had to learn 5 different systems at this point. And you just expect that this dude is not confusing terminology in the way things are. They only get a couple months to get this nailed down from what their previous regime was. Daniel Jones has had and then the injuries on top of that, which Joe and Shane said in the thing, what do you expect this kid to do? This dude's had 2 major injuries since he's been here. Hello, Joe. Let's draft some offensive linemen because now you're about to lose your running back, and then they lost Saquon. So it's you could have handled the main problem, and then you're out there, Tyrone Tracy was awesome. Let's just put it like that. I didn't expect him to be that good because I remember him being a wide receiver and just being okay. And then we all had limited tape on him being a running back. And I was like, I don't have enough here to say that he's going to be good or bad, and it might not pan out. And he ended up stepping up to the plate. But still, would you rather have Tyrone Tracy, or would you rather have had one of these offensive linemen that have done really well in the last draft on your team and giving you that more of a cushion on offense and keeping Saquon? You know what I'm saying? It literally, the Giants just handed the Eagles a Super Bowl trophy this year. Literally. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, they'll be receiving rings on when they play. Giants will be receiving rings too when they.
I'm about to say Joe Shane's going to receive one underneath the table. It's
It should.
It's like the chocolate coin you got on like Easter as a child. It's like here's your chocolate ring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, man.
Hang the banner.
Look, things for the lookout. You know.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next team. The next team we got on the clock here. You got the
Patriots.
They got a new man at the helm.
To me, I'm trying to think of like what Mike Vrabel would do, because I mean, what I would do, I would go with Tedero McMillan, especially with knowing how Drake Maye was at North Carolina. You know, Dante and I constantly were like, this man's throwing hospital balls. It's going to be hard to do that with Tedero McMillan at 6'5", you know.
It's hard for their team because they have talent everywhere, and it's almost like you would love to see what this squad would do with each other right now, because Carlton Davis is there now, so you shore up the opposite side of Christian Gonzalez with him. They brought in Robert Spillane. You bring in some other
Spillane and
I forget the other dude, but
Harold Landry.
Harold Landry. There he goes. Yeah. So it's like, where do you go?
It's like with that, you eliminate like, oh, Abdul Carter's still there, but you've got Spillane and Harold Landry. You've got I don't know why I can't remember this dude's name. Senior Bowl, Georgia Tech, our first year.
Oh, Keon White.
Keon Coleman, or not Keon Coleman. Wow, Keon White. Yeah. So you look at that and you go like, your biggest needs are tackle and wide receiver. Do you get Drake Maye the ball, or the fact that you've seen, Will Campbell's already gone off? Do you go with Kelvin Taylor? Because you got Morgan Moses in free agency. So that helps shores up your right side of the offensive line. Do you go with the best offensive lineman, in our opinions, of Kelvin Banks and, get your left tackle to protect your future quarterback? Or do you go with, get your quarterback wide receiver one in this draft that he can grow with during the whole, like, rookie contracts?
There's three major players that I think could work with New England. It just depends how they feel about these specific groups. Like Tyler Warren would be really cool on the Patriots,
especially with their history with tight ends. Yeah,
I think Kelvin Banks would be cool. And then, no matter how I feel about Ramondre Stevenson, and I think like he could be really, really good. And I also think Antonio Gibson got shoved in a locker somewhere, and they just like don't want to utilize him at all. Like, I have no idea why the Commanders got rid of him. Remember, he had like over 1,000 yards in one season, and he gets traded. I don't like, and now their running back room is worse. I don't understand. So depending on how you feel about your running back room, maybe this is where Ashton Jeanty goes.
And that one would be interesting as well, because I mean that's a better offensive line than you would have gotten like if the Giants drafted him.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because Ramondre's been hurt, they're not using Antonio Gibson the way that they're supposed to. The thing about me and
it'll still help Drake Maye.
And the thing about me and Ashton Jeanty is, I'm like, you got to give him 80% of the carries. He's a locomotive.
Yeah,
it just is what it is. He's not this. You can't split back what you're trying to do with him at the running back position. You got let him do his thing. Because like I told you guys, like, and if you see me say this on a couple of the clips, Ashton Jeanty's the type of dude that will get blown up on the block, come out the next play, hold his stomach, take the carry for 40 yards up the field while he's hurt. He likes that pressure being on his shoulders. So why not let him do that in the NFL too? And of course, teams are going to want to protect their players and stuff, but like some people love to get bruised up, and it's like they get the clock clean, and then it's like they get to the second gear in their head and just, I'm going after every play. Well, I think he'd be cool on the.
So you guys agree now that with New England they're not going to take offensive tackle?
I think they will.
You think they will?
I think they'll go either Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks. I mean, to me that's a move that Mike Vrabel is going to rock with. I mean, you've seen the way that he values, as a former player, offensive and defensive lineman, and playing under Bill Belichick, right? The most important thing that you can do is protect your quarterback, right? One thing that was consistent throughout Tom Brady's career in New England, especially when Vrabel was there, was a consistent, they were consistently good in the trenches on both sides of the football, and they often didn't invest too heavily in the draft early on in wide receivers, and that tended to be the case for Vrabel in Tennessee, right?
After they traded, who was his wide receivers mainly? It's not like he had any. I mean, besides AJ Brown, but it's not like he had any of the like premier.
But even then, AJ Brown was a second-round pick, right? The only first-round pick he had at receiver was Treylon Burks, and that one, and he flopped, right? He has fewer career touchdowns than AJ Brown has like Super Bowl appearances. It's crazy. Yeah. So when you look at just the tendencies of Mike Vrabel, you saw him address heavily in the defense, especially in the front seven, right? With the additions that Dante was talking about earlier, right. Robert Spillane, right? Some of these guys like Harold Landry, Milton Williams. And so what's the part of, what side of the football have they not invested much in? The offense, which is why, guys like Tedero McMillan, Colston Loveland, right? Tyler Warren, and even Ashton Gency are getting mocked here. But I think that the position is going to be offensive tackle because I think they're going to look to protect Drake Maye. As Jim Harbaugh said best last year, they view offensive line as a weapon. And knowing Mike Vrabel, I'm sure that he agrees completely. So I see this as a spot where we see a tackle come off the board. If Amar Membo is still there, I could see him going there as well.
Yeah.
Right? If they want the right tackle over Morgan Moses. Tackle. I'm not sure, but I know that they're probably going to go offensive line. I'm just throwing out.
No, I know what I'm saying. I'm agreeing, especially with like in this case, you see Will Campbell go off. You already see one offensive lineman go off. You kind of got to go with. So I would agree with Kelvin Banks.
If they drop O-line in there, Will, it's either there, Banks. What grade is that offensive line then? A offensive line, a B offensive line?
It's hard to say because
it takes a little while to see how they play, but just on the name value.
I'm gonna tell you like this. There's a two-part answer here. I think it all depends on how Drake Maye looks because I went back and I watched a film last week on Drake Maye, and my opinion of that he actually played pretty well actually has changed. I think he played terrible last year. He turned the ball over a ton last year, and a lot of people are like, he had a great year, and I'm like, nah, pull out the 22 and let me know how well that he did. He played horrible, and partially, if you looked at all the years he played at North Carolina, the guy that really saved him in a lot of those games was Omarion Hampton having a 100-yard plus game and a couple touchdowns.
They should get him second.
That's what I'm saying is like, it's either going to be Ashton Genty or Omarion Hampton that they really need to go get to help him out, open up the pass game. But then it's like, yeah, we want to protect Drake Maye, but I literally think some of their issues are not offensive line. I think it's just Drake Maye being a rookie and trying to process. And then like, let's be honest. If all of us were rookie quarterbacks last year and we see Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix balling out every single week, that's a lot of pressure on me to come in as a starter the next time. You know what I'm saying? Because he started after a couple of games, and I'd be like, damn, I got to keep up with that. And then, of course, New England is not the prettiest place to play. If you've ever been to Boston, it's not the nicest place on the planet. Yeah. So playing in that environment and then everybody looking at you is like the next Tom Brady because that's the natural thing to do. Yeah. Like, there was a lot of expectations for
as they have been starved from success.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's wild because Tom's college career definitely, I thought Tom was a better quarterback. Though he didn't play a whole bunch when he was in college. Then, Drake played a lot, but I don't know. He actually had a good running back. Team wasn't really that good any year he was there. So they were kind of buttocks, his whole career at North Carolina. So
and now it's another system change for Drake too. So either he's going to conform and have like a really good year with the new system and get used to it, or you just confuse the young man while having all the pressure on him yet again. And then we're going to be looking at like, oh, it's the offensive line, and it's really not. It's just he doesn't process that. He did this in college. Like, he does not process well, and everybody thought that this kid was otherworldly. And we sat up here and told everybody, like, he throws hospital balls. Go watch the game against Minnesota his last year in college, and then you come back and tell me that dude's a good quarterback.
Right.
I've never seen it, bro. We lost a lot of Drake Maye last year. I was like, I don't see it, dog. Is it just me or like?
No, they didn't they bench him once during the season? Did he get benched last year?
No, he didn't get.
No,
benched.
I think he got
hurt. He rolled that out, man. He got hurt, and
okay.
His pro day was amazing though. And I think that's what everybody sees is like the dude has the talent. But I don't think it's his arm as much as it's his head. Like
it may be too fast for him right now, but
I think so. And it might slow down for him and then we all be okay. And he gets the right quarterback coach to come in there and be like, slow down. Let's get a process that actually works for you. And if it does that, maybe we might see a bright side. Because, like, I'll put it like this. The closest thing that I saw to Justin Herbert on some of the throws was Drake Maye. And that's a tough comparison for me to make because I love Justin Herbert. But that's what I saw on film when I went back and watched last year's 22. It was like he looks like Justin Herbert when he throws the ball and it's accurate. But these two guys are completely different, you know, and their statistics category and the way that they're perceived. So I don't mean to put that title on him, but that's just what I see. He could be Justin Herbert if he puts it all together.
Okay, well that's not a bad place to be at. So
it's not. No, it's not.
So what we'll be doing with Sunshine? Aquam Sunshine.
Who's Jaguars? Yeah, that's Dante's folks. What you got going on with the Jags, man? Who you?
Tedero McMillan.
I want Tedero McMillan personally. Again, I think there's two people that he's number one on my big board. Like I think he's the best player in this draft, hands down. But then like number two that's creeping up there is Mason Graham. Like I think he's creeping up there. Like I always have like a couple guys that I think are going to be generational, meaning that they're not going to be Hall of Famers, but like these guys are going to transcend their position and be everything that you draft them to be, right? Like you're going to get them for many, many years and they're going to be well respected. But for some reason, everybody keeps saying Mason Graham. James Gladstone came out and said we might look at both of the lines. And I think it's just a smoke screen for us going to go either pick Ashton Genty. His name keeps coming up, but Ashton Genty or Tedero McMillan or Tyler Warren. I really think that's where we're going at this point in time. And I think they're just throwing a smoke screen up to say, like, to force somebody to take Mason Graham off the board before they do. Because we drafted 4 defensive linemen and have Eric Armstead on our defensive line. That's 5 defensive linemen. Why are we got to – that's the last 2 drafts. All those guys came in over just the last 2 drafts. That's crazy. Give those young guys a chance.
I know we're not doing trades, but I could absolutely see it be like Jacksonville trading back a couple of spots to like, I don't know, Chicago or Carolina, something like that. And then, drafting Tyler Warren, especially after losing Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind that, but I wouldn't mind that if Tedero McMillan is not there, I wouldn't mind us trading back. But if he's there, I think that should be our pick because him and Brian Thomas, you give again. What did I say before? Yeah. Let's give Trevor Lawrence every reason not to suck, and if he sucks, then you know what you got. Because like Brian Thomas Jr. already proved that, like, and he proved me wrong. Again, I don't hit on every draft pick. I thought Brian Thomas Jr. was outside of the top 10 of wide receivers. I'll be the first one to call it. I did not think he was going to be as good. Same with Malik Neighbors. Like, I didn't see it with those two. Rest in peace to Kyron Lacy. I thought he was the best wide receiver there even last year.
Wow.
Rest in peace to the young man. You know, I thought he was going to be otherworldly this year. But on the other side of that, he proved me wrong, shut me up, and I'm like, damn, I'm a Brian Thomas Jr. fan. Now, he stepped up to the plate. He was quiet. He did what he was supposed to do. But you bring Tedero McMillan, who's a different dynamic than Brian Thomas Jr. Like, you got the speed, the athleticism of a Brian Thomas Jr. that's routing people up, getting some yak. And then you have Tedero McMillan, with just a big body guy that can do all of those things too.
It's what Philly has with Smith and Brown.
But yeah, and you can line up. He's a good blocker. Like, he looks like a tight end out there. So, but you give another weapon to Trevor Lawrence, and I think and we've seen this. I know y'all seen the pass in the back of the end zone that was intended for Brian Thomas Jr., and it was just way too high for him to catch. Trevor Lawrence has an issue, and I said this when he was in college. He has a tendency to make balls float. I don't know what it is. Maybe he just doesn't trust his arm. Maybe he got hit too many times. Maybe he's just over-evaluating. I don't mind you overthrowing, but within 10 yards of you getting a touchdown, that's ridiculous. Like, That should never happen. A guy that's wide open too, that should never happen. But guess what? Tedero McMillan gives you that, that area of error, that he could go up there and make
the
something
catch
happen.
radius is a lot bigger, so
correct.
You can catch about everything there. But do you think that would have to be something where they move back? Because no one I've seen has, Mr. McMillan up at that high at 5, 6, or 7. So they got him at Dallas, which is what, 10?
Yeah, he's been getting pushed down for whatever reason,
12.
man.
Dallas is at 12.
12. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been getting pushed down a lot.
Pushing him down. So.
Well, here's the thing with that too, and actually that podcast that put out the misinformation on, I made a video, and then I got tagged in it, and then their podcast came after me talking about, well, I'm like, no, you guys put out this stupid narrative when he was 18 that he doesn't watch film and everything, and I debunked everything that you said. Like, if you can't tell that the young man has a tattoo on his right arm and he didn't have a tattoo then, that should tell you that it's probably not from the last 2 years because he got that tattoo 2 years ago. Like, it's just like things like that. Like, people want to just make a headline so quickly and instead of doing their research.
Oh, no. We live in the era of clickbait, which I detest and hate. Just do your research so you don't get called out and get stitched.
Oh, facts. I mean, we get called out for just our opinion on list.
Oh man, Oh well, that and Shador saying his too. So
yeah. Oh, it's funny, and you know this, Kev. We were even harder on JJ McCarthy last year.
100.
It was worse. We were not JJ fans at all.
Have to prove itself this year, right? He's playing this year, so
yeah.
We'll see what they said in camp. I haven't heard anything yet, but
I don't know. He out there looking like Anakin Skywalker right now, so yeah, I might be on a revenge tour.
No. We'll see.
We shall see. Yeah.
So as we go forward, we got the Raiders next. I see Will Johnson, cornerback. That makes sense to you guys?
Well,
I think they need everything. So.
Dana put in the chat too from our side that, and I did see this earlier, that there was a flag on his medical about his knee now. So he had a hamstring injury. And now they're saying that he has a knee injury now too. So I think he's going to drop down the board severely now because people are already a little teeter-tottering on who they thought that, how far that he was going to actually get chosen up on the board. But it looks like he's going to drop. I don't know. I think, again, I hate to keep bringing him up, but if Ashton Jeanty falls there, I'm pretty sure the Raiders are going to be running up with their hair on fire to put that card in for them. And I think it's going to be a huge mistake.
For
the Raiders.
For the Raiders? Because they have a quarterback?
I'm glad you agree with me there. I think the Seahawks fleeced the Raiders. A third-round pick for Geno was criminal.
Yeah, they
did. But
bro.
Oh, okay. Next, Jets. They got Mason Graham, defensive tackle.
I think this is where Armand Membu is going to go.
Yeah,
they need O-line help.
And he'll play right tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean he's going to mainly be right tackle, and if they do anything else, is they're some like Kai Becton 2.0 of fucking it up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you look at it, and, not that I think this is going to happen, but Jets will have their quarterback for now. You've got 2 years to figure out Justin Fields. He's got weapons. He's got running backs. He's got a good receiving core. Let's build him O-line. You know that your defense is going to be good. Let's build Justin Fields O-line. Let's get him solidified. Solidify the right side of that offensive line. Get Armand Membu. He's like one of the youngest prospects in this draft class and is already like the top right tackle out of everybody else in this draft class.
I've never seen Justin Fields so happy, man. Like everybody remembers when he got drafted to the Bears, he was not happy about it.
He was not happy because he knew.
I wouldn't have been either then.
But you pair him up with his teammate like Garrett Wilson, who's been like his lifeline when he was in college too. Yes. Like, and one of his best friends. And honestly, I thought for the longest time, and I still have this prediction, I think the New Orleans Saints are going to trade Chris Olave to the Jets on draft day.
I was about to say,
whatever reason.
I can see the Chris Olave, and that may be like a hey, they're going to get 2 first rounds in the draft pick.
Who are they trading for that? The pick?
They'll have to trade one of their defensive players, maybe Quincy Williams or somebody is going to have to be part of that package, and they need it. They need another linebacker, or they need one of their corners or something. Or they've been talking about trading
Gardner.
No, not Gardner. The running back.
Breece Hall.
Yeah, that's crazy,
Breece Hall.
Man.
I did hear that the other day. I was like, wow.
But if you trade Breece Hall for Chris Olave and you still have Braylon Allen there, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that.
I've got a running back.
Yeah, that would be dope.
2.0.
Well, and it's also like, and exactly that. Let's look. It's not as much of a both sides got fleeced of it as much as you've got Alvin Kamara and like Breece Hall. That's a good duo right there. Ohio State reunion. That's good for the Jets. That's not like a Geno. That's not like the Seahawks fleecing the Raiders for a Geno Smith. That's a good trade both ways through.
Yeah, I don't think people understand. Like, I know Jake's on our side, but like, bro, you got to understand. Geno Smith is like going to be 34 years old or 35, one of the two. Yeah. And he had every single weapon on the Seahawks. Y'all keep talking about that offensive line, but he put up numbers because he had Jackson Smith-Njigba, the best slot receiver last year statistically. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jake Bobo, Noah Fant. Go down the line. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. These dudes are not any – they were better than the Raiders offensively. So let's just stop it there. Like, he's going to a worse team, and he's going to get older. Even though he's going to be back with Pete Carroll, he's going to have to learn a brand new system under Chip Kelly, which is not pass heavy. Let me tell you this. It's not pass heavy, brother. Like, they got fleeced for a 3rd-round pick for a 34-year-old. That is nasty work. The Seahawks totally fleeced them, dog. I'm sorry. Sam Darnold is 27.
Wait, so we trade for younger people in trades? Amazing.
That's crazy, right? they got this hopium on the Raiders side that Geno and Pete Carroll. Yeah, they got hopium, man. It's crazy. I've never seen
it's out here like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. They're like sanctuary.
I love our Raiders fans in the chat, but I just gotta say this: y'all was the same one on y'all side that was getting hyped. That your boy Zeus, what's his name?
What was dude's name?
What's dude's name from Florida?
Zeus White, not Florida.
No, from Georgia.
Oh, big boy that went to
the running back,
Amir White, something like that.
Zamir White. They call him Zeus.
Yeah.
These dudes are getting so hype on Instagram when he's sitting there posting workout videos and his arms were big. They're like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna run for 1,000 yards this year." That dude was total butt cheeks. Did he even run for 200 yards?
No. I don't even think he ran for over 150.
That dude was ass, man. And y'all got see the copium that lives with the Raiders for whatever reason is crazy.
It's just gonna be the gif of the monkey on the ventilation system.
It's kind of been weird with the Georgia running backs, I would say, in the last 5 to 6 years. They're not what they were. They had a run, about, say, 10 years ago. Yeah. They had a run, and then the run was over.
Why Tyler Warren?
Sonny Michel, Marshall, of course, what's the big man's name? That went to
DeAndre Swift, Todd Gurley. You had a handful of good running backs coming out of Georgia, and then they recruited well. Like some of these guys, even like Zamir White and guys that they have there right now, but they just haven't panned out. Even a guy like Kenny McIntosh, who was who I believe came in after.
That was Dante's boy.
Yeah, he came in after I believe DeAndre Swift and those guys. Kenny McIntosh. And then he ended up being an undrafted free agent signed by the Eagles.
At the Senior Bowl? I thought that was who?
That was Fishing.
Who was the Georgia running back you fell in love with?
Oh, you talk about oh man, don't even remind me. You talk about my boy
Didn't he go to the Saints as well?
Dejon Edwards, bro.
There you go, Dejon Edwards. That's who it was. Never mind.
Man, that dude was cold. I don't know why he's not on the team. He just must be lazy or something because he was nasty with it.
That was nasty work, bro. All right, my bad.
That was the darkest dude I ever seen in person, bro.
Yeah, Dante was like, "So I want you to get him for an interview." I was like, "Bro, I don't know where he's at." And he was like, "How?" I don't know.
Yeah, we were in that ballroom. We couldn't see nothing. They got black curtains up. I couldn't even. I'm like, where Dejon Edwards at, man? This is crazy.
Hey, I got a question for the panel. Pardon my lateness, guys.
No, all good, man.
I got a question for everybody, right?
Yep.
So if you're the Jets, take a lineman, which I think that's what they should do. Take a lineman with their first pick.
Yep.
Let's say they make this trade and they get Olave. How long of a leash do you give Justin Fields going forward? We all know he hasn't been getting no fair share anywhere, any of these stops that he's been to. But are you giving him 2 years? Are you giving him 3 years?
Wasn't he on his 2-year contract?
What's that leash?
Yeah, he's on a 2-year contract.
That don't mean nothing.
No, well, yeah, I know.
Like I told you with contracts, you take 1 year off of whatever they signed you to. So he's really under a 1-year contract. That's 3 years, 2 years.
That's it.
I think that's a good question. I think what you have to look at and what everybody measures quarterbacks for, and we all on this panel can all agree that records are not a good reflection on the quarterback. But what I think if they get to 8 wins, that's a good starting point, right? And then
I think it depends on what is losing you the games. Is it Justin Fields or is it
something else,
like defense or something?
Yeah.
I think it just depends on if you've been in close games and what is the reason why you've lost said games.
I do think the hard part is this: his defense is going to be good this year, right? Because they kind of fell off because their coach got fired in the middle of the year. They just like, I'm not playing no more, But if they're good, then Justin Fields has less room, right? Because if they can stand up to Miami and stand up to the Buffaloes, just win one of them. Win one during the season, split. I think, that'll put a lot of pressure on him to do what he needs to do. Because, again, like I said, I liked him. I thought Chicago did him wrong. So, I liked him in college. So, I never really had a problem with him. And I knew it wasn't what people said he was going to be because he wasn't that in college. He ran the ball a lot in college.
And Khalid, you're probably going to say what I'm going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when we talked about Justin Fields this past season, it was right around the time when Russell Wilson was getting rumored to take over the starting job from Fields in Pittsburgh. They had just lost, I think, 1 or 2 games after, I think they started the season, 5-2, 5-1 or something.
Yes, sir.
And we were talking about it. And when you watch the games, sure, Justin Fields isn't passing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every game. But, he led the team in rushing touchdowns up to that point. And not to mention, he wasn't losing them games.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sure, he's not lighting up the stat sheet, but he's taking care of the football. He's playing good football, right? None of Pittsburgh's problems up to that point were Justin Fields' fault, and they still switched to Russell Wilson. So if the Jets, who have a better defense than Pittsburgh, who have more weapons already in place around Justin Fields than he had in Pittsburgh, if Justin Fields plays the same exact way that he was playing when we saw him in 2024, he's going to be the starter there for at least another year, right? Because again, I think that they're going to take this kind of, they'll see how it goes for 1 year. Because like we said earlier, right, this next class in the 2026 draft for quarterbacks looks like it's going to be very top heavy, a lot more first round picks. So knowing that, right, if Justin Fields doesn't pan out, if he is losing you games, I think they'll move on and they'll feel good about it. The Jets have a great roster in place. They'll go out there and take another quarterback. But at least in my opinion, the last we saw of Justin Fields, not only was he playing well, but he was far from being on the list of problems that the Steelers had. So as long as he carries that momentum to the Jets this year, I think that Fields could be the starter there long term, and we could start to see him getting back to the form that we saw right at Ohio State. This kid. There's one clip. I think they're playing against Clemson or something in the college football playoffs. He had one of the most beautiful deep balls right over the middle of the field. It was either to Chris Olave. A beautiful throw. We haven't seen that anymore, but I think a lot of that is because of the constant change around him, the schemes, the head coaches, and now he's finally at a place where he does have a former teammate in Garrett Wilson. He has a lot of weapons. Exactly, with some confidence and with trust from the coaching staff. I think that Justin Fields could see a resurgence in his career. Again, the evidence from this past year says that Justin Fields won't be the problem. So personally, I think that he's gonna make it work in New York. And we also, one last thing we have to remember, their new head coach, Aaron Glenn, right? Defensive coordinator of the Lions. I know that he coaches defense or coached defense, but he was in the building with Dan Campbell when Jared Goff was viewed as a bust, being traded in from the Rams after a Super Bowl appearance and couldn't get back to the form he was in. And this coaching staff believes in him. They set him up for success. And look at what happened to Jared Goff and the Lions. They found success, and Jared Goff is now viewed as a consensus, right? Top 10, top 12 quarterback.
Yep.
As a result of the trust and confidence that he built up with the coaching staff. And I think that Aaron Glenn, having seen that, he's going to try to do the same thing with Justin Fields. That's a detail that cannot be overlooked.
I'm sorry, Dante. I think two things. First is that Justin Fields would have had 8 wins last year, right? I mean, he was on 5. He would have had 8 wins last year. So, but that's maybe just not good enough for the Pittsburgh fan base. But I do believe that he'll be 8 games in, easy wins here. I mean, he'll run the ball because he's a tough kid. I remember the kid from Clemson hit him in that bowl game that you were just talking about, the guy that was at Clemson, the linebacker.
Both years, 2 years in a row, and he had the same injury on his wrist.
He got smoked in the game.
And that kid got ejected 2 years in a row.
Yeah, man. You know that.
I'll never forget that.
That old man.
That was crazy.
Hit him with a car. That old man hit him with a car.
It was the same guy.
I was like, yo, that dude's still at Clemson? Like, he's still there? How old is he?
He got ejected twice for the same hit.
He can play. I don't know if he's even in the NFL. But that guy hit Mr. Fields so hard. I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
But he got up and kept playing. So, yeah, nothing but love for the kid. I've liked him ever since he got there. So.
Yes. Spoiler alert. I think Justin Fields is going to be comeback player of the year.
Okay, I'll write it down.
And here's a reason why. Like
Twin box.
I think a change of scenery is really good for him, and then also being with Garrett Wilson again. I think it's you remember when Davante Adams got traded to the Jets and everybody thought Aaron Rodgers was going to take a step up. I believe it's kind of that same aura, but you're dealing with two younger guys that are going to give that same mentality. And then also for the simple fact of, like, we got to think about it. Adam Gase drew up plays for Justin Fields to run. So he switched the wiring in Justin Fields' head to be a running quarterback. And for those people that didn't watch college, this is why, like, me, Soren, Khalid gets so upset when people are like, he's just a running quarterback. And we're like, did y'all not see this man play at Ohio State? He was a better passing quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. And that's just the facts. If you look, he was better all year long. And then he got to the playoffs and he had that misconnection with Garrett Wilson the first year. And then the second year they went further and actually beat Clemson when Trevor Lawrence looked like ass in that game. Like, and let's just be real about it. And then this whole perception of Trevor Lawrence being the number one guy had changed everybody's outlook on Justin Fields. Then he drops in the draft, goes to the Bears where he didn't want to go. And Adam Gase changed the wiring of that I believe he ran a 40 that was unbelievable with the Bears that hasn't come out yet. And Adam Gase was like, yeah, we got to use you in the running game more. He literally had plays drawn up just for him to run. I'm like, you're going to get this kid killed. And, of course, he got hurt year after year. That offensive line got worse. And they never drew up any passing plays. And when they did get DJ Moore there, you start to see that talent come out a little bit more and a little bit more, and then they trade him, and then he gets traded to Pittsburgh. So it's like
they had a pretty good connection in there more.
I would love his. I think if Justin Fields was with the Bears last year, it would have been the same ordeal.
Yeah,
it would have been the same ordeal what they dealt with. Like, I don't think Caleb Williams moved the needle for them at all, and that's not saying Caleb Williams is a bad quarterback. It's just if you would have put Justin Fields there, everybody would have been like, okay, well, I can see the direction that we're going. You almost draft the carbon copy of Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So.
And now you get Ben Johnson, so now Caleb Williams is going to look amazing this year.
Let me say, move on to the Panthers. Khalid, you said it right. We've been saying it this whole evening about continuity. Fields gets traded with he goes with the Bears, and he goes to Pittsburgh, and now hopefully he'll have some continuity, and he's able to settle in and make it a good season. And I'm like you, somebody might be having some audio issues too. We hear some feedback, but I think he should be good with the Jets. I absolutely agree with you, Khalid. So let's move on to the Panthers. The Panthers look like they need some secondary help. I'd say work, yeah. Well, they got work last year in the secondary, but go ahead, fellas.
Yeah, the Panthers are an interesting one, right? We talked about this too. Like, you bring Trayvon Moehrig and make him one of the highest paid safeties, which is incredibly disgusting. I don't understand why. Well, they messed up like a couple years in a row, getting rid of Frankie Louvu, who was otherworldly for the Commanders, and then letting Jeremy Chin go to the Commanders, and now he's with the Raiders, and now the Raiders just signed a better safety than Trayvon Moehrig on their team, and the Panthers are like, you just overpaid the guy that you should have paid. I don't understand. Like, how do you screw up this bad?
And they traded away Brian Burns.
Yeah,
they got rid of every good piece on their defense except for Derek Brown.
Shout out to the Panthers, yes, for giving us Burns. I can tell you this about the Panthers. I lived in the city for a little bit, and their owner, he leaves much to be desired for, and he's had some issues too with
David Tepper sucks.
Yes, he had some. How many coaches he had? He went from Frank Wright, and then he went to. Who else was that?
Matt Rule,
Ja Rule, as we called him on our show. And then
Dave Canellis now.
Then and so again, continuity. Football, I think in football, out of all the four major sports, continuity is everything, especially in football, of having harmony and making sure you pick right. So there you go.
I said this, Kev. I said that David Tepper is an idiot when it comes to football operations, but he's a genius when it comes to soccer operations. You know why? Because, and Khalid knows this, one good player in soccer can change your whole trajectory of your team. That's not football. Football is way different. So when you drafted Bryce Young and didn't spend any money to bring any other young, talented weapons to be around him, and then everybody looked at, we're just going to start Andy Dalton. The best thing you did was to bench Bryce Young and Andy Dalton to get in that car accident, and for Bryce Young to sit there and think about it like, okay, you're going to do this to me even though it wasn't my fault? All right, I'm coming to bust that ass the next couple of weeks, and he did. And everybody on ECG was like, see, this is why you don't give up on a young kid. You put pressure on him, but you don't give up on him. And Dave Canales did the right thing.
Yes, he did.
And now it's just kind of like, I know that they wanted CJ Stroud, but they got the right quarterback there. And I said this before, and everybody agrees with me now. If hindsight was 50-50, CJ Stroud being on the Panthers these last couple years would have been the same result, and Bryce Young would have had the same results with the Texans the last 2 years. It wouldn't have made a difference. They're so similar. It's just one is bigger than the other, like as far as size. But they almost, I think Bryce Young probably would have been a little bit more successful than CJ this year. But I think CJ would have gotten killed with the Panthers. It doesn't matter how tall or big he was. Like, nobody was going to that situation was going to have success. So the Panthers have a lot of work to do. And them drafting Ikem Ekwonu 2 years ago and him being a dumpster fire last year, like, how do you go from being one of the best left tackles to being one of the worst? Like, I don't understand that.
Exposed.
I'll let Sora Khalid answer because they got a lot of holes, man.
Yeah. I look primarily at the defense. I mean,
sound like a choir.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Both of you guys said, yeah.
It's kind of a bleak outlook for the Panthers, in my opinion, because you have some hope with the offense, right? Bryce Young, he looked like a different beast after coming back and retaking the starting job, right, late in the season. And the offense was able to, they were able to move the football. I mean, they almost took down the Eagles, I believe, in Philadelphia.
Chiefs and Eagles, like in back-to-back weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will say though, right, the defense needs so much work. So frankly, I think the pick has got to be defense. And personally, if there's a premier edge rusher here that you want to bank on, you go with him. Which is why I've mocked Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M here, because you see the physical tools that he has, you see the high floor he has as a run defender, and then you bank on your coaching being able to develop him as a pass rusher to unlock those elite traits that he has. I've been able to see him play every single game of his career, being a student here at A&M. So for Stewart to land in Carolina, I mean, one of the comps I gave him was Julius Peppers, right? A Carolina legend, because of his size and the power that he plays with. And I think that if Shamar Stewart is able to tap into that power and also, develop some pass rush moves and some counters, I think that Carolina could find an absolute stud along the defensive line who will help generate some pass rush and make things easier on their secondary, who, admittedly, they also need to invest some draft capital in throughout the draft. So anywhere on the defense, I think, is a good place to start, but I think the best way to go is edge rusher here.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. Although I'm gonna pick a different edge rusher, even if like Abdul Carter is still there. We look at kind of the, we mentioned all the guys that they kind of lost. Frankie Louvu, obviously trading Brian Burns to the Giants. So the guy that I'm going to go with is somebody that can, while he's only one person, he can kind of fill the shoes that they both left. And yeah, Dante, I'm going Jalen Walker.
Yeah.
Jalen Walker out of Georgia. That man can
I believe we marked both of them. I believe we marked Shamar and Jalen to go to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great pick. And can we talk about how nasty that J.C. Horn contract was, too? Being the highest paid cornerback? Man, I wish I could do less of my job and get paid more than everybody.
Hey, that's the game, man. That's the work you guys.
Yeah, Mike Green to me is not going to touch the first round. The allegations against that dude is insane. Yeah, he's really not that great. I mean, I don't know.
I'm trying to get to my team, and I don't want to skip anybody, so I'm like getting angry. So,
all right,
mine's Jalen Walker.
Well, okay. We'll move on to the Saints, and then we got the Bears. You guys can talk about that in tandem. We got
it's number next.
And I'm sorry, no, Saints and the Bears. Number 9 are the Saints, the 10, and the Bears are number 10.
Yep.
The Saints
need to take best player available.
Yeah, I think at this point in time they would do better by doing that.
Or trade down.
It's probably going to be like Donovan Jackson or somebody like that. That's going to be the best player available. And then also they need to think about who they're going to replace
at quarterback.
We up here we think the same thing about Spencer Rattler how we do about Will Levis. Like I just don't get how you give up on this young man that quickly, and he showed some promise, but there's absolutely nobody on your team that has been healthy. You still outside of Alvin Kamara.
Right.
If they draft Shedeur Sanders, I mean they're probably gonna. I think New Orleans fans would be happy with whoever they get, but at the end of the day, it's like you guys need to draft best player available. This is where I'm in the boat of BPA all day. Whoever's on the board, that's who you pick, and it's probably going to be an offensive lineman. I think Donovan Jackson gives them a little bit more cushion to help out somebody like Spencer Rattler. At least give that dude a chance because the talent is there. The talent is there. We all talked about this last year. We love Spencer Rattler and probably had the best arm talent of any quarterback in the draft last year.
Okay.
And we're talking about Bo Nix, how high we were on Bo Nix, how high we were on Michael Penix Jr. People forget Spencer Rattler can spin the ball, man. I don't
in the pocket or on the move.
Yeah.
Now you guys were spot on with Bo Nix. Even though a lot of people at first they was like, "Oh, I don't know about Bo Nix."
You not entertained.
Oh, but believe me, I had fun in the comment section that was shooting down every opportunity to say that I was an idiot. I went right back and I responded to everybody. I was like, "Put your dunce caps on."
That's how Klee and I felt with the Raiders prediction.
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
Chicago Bears. They need some little bit of offensive help.
So I know he's already been taken. I'm telling you, I will say this though. If Giantsy is still there, I feel like he's going to be Chicago Bear because Ben Johnson's going to want that Montgomery Gibbs combo that they had with Swift and Gentry. So I feel like if Gentry's there at 10, it's going to be the Bears. Or that's going to be the pick for the Bears. If not. If not, this is where I can see another edge, like a Shamar Stewart going.
Yeah.
Whoever the best edge available is, I can see going to the Bears.
Okay. Got the Bears. All right. Anybody else on the Bears before we move on to the DA's team, the Niners? Before we talk about the Niners, I know I was busy this weekend with the Niners. DA, was that right? What you put about Brock Purdy that he rejected the
Look, man, we traded him to Carolina, Bryce. So yeah,
okay,
that would be insane.
Hey, look, man, we always want rookie contracts for quarterbacks. Like we got a pattern, man. We're not paying this guy more than $20 million.
I like Brock, man.
I like Brock too, but his ceiling is very low. He's small, has small hands, and only has one come from behind victory since he's been there. So, meaning to say, when things ain't all good, he ain't all good. When somebody's hurt, he can't get it done. And I watch it. And I like the kid. I do. I really do. But Bryce's ceiling is far higher.
Can't tell.
Well, if you put Bryce with Kyle Shanahan, that would be incredible.
Nasty work, baby. Nasty work. And that's the thing that I'm trying to tell. I've been telling guys this forever. They're not going to make the trade. I know. I'm just saying that I read that somewhere. But the reality is, our philosophy is quarterback ain't got to be great. The team has to be great.
That's it. Bring back Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We had Jimmy G in the Super Bowl. Come on.
Yeah, and he threw that.
Also had Purdy in the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying.
Purdy probably would have been in 2 in a row.
I've seen Shanahan break a clipboard in half watching Jimmy G throw an interception to Cincinnati. Just broken in half. So, listen, just tell me what you guys think. I think they got this getting the D tackle, which wouldn't be bad because everyone we get. The ones five, we've tried to trade.
Especially with Javon Hargrave being out. Yeah. Or no, he is out.
Yeah, he's not with them anymore. Why did y'all let Javon Hargrave go? I will never understand that. But yeah, bring Walter Nolan in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mason Graham, if he hasn't been taken yet, but yeah.
That
too.
Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, and
they got this guy Kenneth Grant, DT from Michigan. I don't.
Stay away from him.
Okay, good enough. I'm with you.
Not worthy of a first round.
Yeah,
I mean, if somebody chose him in second, if somebody chose him in the late second or early third, I would be okay with that. But there's a lot of people out there that say oh, he only benefited from Mason Graham. Okay, buddy. Well, again, Kenneth Grant didn't start all last year. I mean, it was Chris Jenkins that was there, if people remember. Yeah. And Mason Graham has played on the same side as guys as Josiah Stewart and had success. Played 3-4 out pretty much damn outside linebacker. It looks like it's sub snaps. Mason Graham is all over that defensive line and actually doesn't need any help from anybody to be successful. I mean, he's really a unicorn, but for people to say like Kenneth Grant was the reason why Mason Graham was more productive, that's total BS in my opinion. I mean, Kenneth Grant is okay, but I don't see him being like this otherworldly defensive tackle. He wasn't in our. I don't think he was in any of our top 10s. So you got guys like Darius Alexander from Toledo that are better.
Right.
Michael Williams is okay. I see him being a primary edge rusher, outside linebacker at the next level.
Yeah, he's going to play outside.
But he doesn't have a lot of tape either, and doesn't have a ton of snaps. That's like the biggest knock on him too. Wow. It's like he hasn't. The productivity side of it is not that high, and then you could say this about him, like against like a Shamar Stewart, is like Shamar Stewart was wrecking stuff, while Michael Williams got taken out of some plays, like completely. And Jalen Walker either had to come in, or I forgot that other kid's name that we were looking at. They're all over the field. Small Munden and the rest of those guys. Like, shout out to Small Munden, by the way, in my DMs. If you guys know, you know.
Maybe we'll take your boy, Ted Tarola McMillan. So we'll take Mr. McMillan because he'll be there. You know.
That would be crazy. Tedderell McMillan, Ricky Pearsall, and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. Oh my goodness gracious!
Dante, they can't keep doing
that's what we do.
Yeah,
you know, we put anybody back there, and that's going to work. So you know, you just have to have NFL talent. That's all.
I think what you guys are still dealing with is what Charlie's saying in the chat. You guys are still dealing with the repercussions of Trey Lance. The dude put a hex on you guys.
He probably did. He probably did. He probably did. But
you know, I don't even know why people.
Lance, baby.
Trey Lance.
Yeah, boy.
Well,
yeah, that's why I think we do things the way we do it with the Niners. Like, listen.
It's just crazy how you can play in the FCS level, play one game, and then sit out the rest of the year. Like, out of everybody that's coming out of college, you need the most snaps to prove yourself. We don't care if you play for North Dakota State or not. You still play in a division that's underneath the guys that are getting drafted.
Correct.
And then, I mean, if you have to look at him as like being like a group of 5 quarterback. So, like, I don't know why, just because they're a national championship winning team year after year, like, you still play FCS football.
I would put you on that one.
I don't understand why Trey thought he was better than he was.
Man. I don't know why anybody thought that, to be totally honest with you. So. Hey, I'm sorry, sir.
No.
I'm going to ask, can I ask one more question, Kevin?
Yeah.
Outside of this draft, because this is something like we talk about, something I'm really, really, if I may, guys, college football. Can I have 5 minutes of good college football?
Yeah.
459, 458.
I want to turn around. I want to talk about a few things, right? The first off, let's call it college classism, right? So you got your SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big whatever they are now, and the Pac-2, right? It's Pac-2 or 3. How many of the teams are over there, right?
You're being a jerk. You're being a jerk.
They'll be getting some members next year, so they'll try to get back up to that top.
There you go. I got real problems with it. We'll talk another time about the regionalism and folks traveling and not being able to see games the way they used to because, they're not in the same damn conference anymore or division. But the way it's starting to look now, and I'm being real honest, the SEC is like crazy, right? Like it has so, and kudos to Ohio State. I got problems with Notre Dame forever for not being in the conference, so they never.
We agree with you
at all, right? Because they get to play Boston College and whatever week military team that year, then they'll get a Georgia Tech game and maybe a little
go down to Winston-Salem and beat on Wake Forest every once in a while.
Yes. It's smart guys beating smart guys, but
I wouldn't say that. I knew a couple people that went to Wake Forest, and they're not the brightest of minds.
I'm just trying to be clear.
Shout out to my people in Guilford County, man.
It's what do we see with college football with the NIL transfer portal? What do you think their plans are going forward? For maybe putting some guardrails around the process, not hampering what the kids want, or we just had a situation in Tennessee with with Coach Heupel, and oh boy, I can never pronounce his name. So don't never ask me.
Nico Iamaleava.
There you go, sir. Hey, you did that last week for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he did. He sounded out like I was 3 years old. And I appreciate that.
Well, you missed it when he said and before we began, he actually what was he said? You was at a conference or something like that. His sister was there and she kind of spelled it out for.
Oh yeah, for DJ Uyunglele, his sister was in a forum that I was in. She was like, I don't understand, you guys are pronouncing our last name wrong. And she's kind of spelled it out phonetically like that. Was like, Uyunglele, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. And so so everybody started, and like all the sportscasters for Florida State, like all the podcasters and stuff, started saying his name correctly, and the guys that were reporting. So it was kind of cool that she corrected everybody, because we were butchering his name for years.
Yeah,
sure. So again, it became Durag DJ, like just straight up.
Yeah.
So what do you guys, like, where are we going with this, right? With the kids, do they have contracts for a year or two, or you're breaking a contract because he was there and then he said, "Hey, I don't want to be here anymore"?
Well, the thing is like, in my opinion, I'll let them spit too, but I think the thing that makes it so complicated is a lot of the collectives and everything, what we're starting to learn from Nico, because the thing about it, when you read more into it, there was one booster that was paying his $2 million contract.
Right.
It was one guy that was like, that's why they rolled out the red carpet with the private jets and all that. This was apparently this guy's stuff that he was given the 5-star treatment to, Nico. So what ended up happening is, when the breach of contract happened, Nico's not an employee. So he can just get up and bounce, and then all your wasted money is going out the door. And we were arguing with somebody on Twitter. We were saying, what you guys don't understand, this is a bad look for college football, because you have to think about this as a community. And the only people that understand this are people that do pay attention to college athletics. The boosters, the fans are everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about anything else. The boosters and the fans are everything, and they mean the most. And who are the people that are funding the collectives? The boosters, or people that are really big fans of the school, or people that probably went to the school but didn't finish their degree. Like, these people are ride or die for Tennessee. So, like, when Nico Iamaleava gets up and he's like, I'm looking for a $4 million contract, and he lets his family get involved, there's nothing there that states, like, Nico has to stay here, or we can take him to court, we can do all this stuff. It's just, breach of contract, Nico pieces out of there, and this booster is left there sitting on his hands, because he's like, well, I did everything that I could to, obviously get Nico to stay at the school, and he just decided to skip out and go to UCLA. Granted, that's where Nico probably should have gone in the first place, because he's from there, and that makes sense on why UCLA has him. But think about the booster that's like, well, we're negotiating his contract anyways, and we wanted him to stay, but you go in there and you take less money at UCLA right now, and it makes everybody that was involved look really, really dumb. So it's going to change college athletics, for the simple fact is, like, you're going to have to make these players employees, and you're going to have to give them employee consequences. That's the only thing that's going to happen here. And then on the other side of that is, they need to do something with the transfer portal. Take the spring portal out of it. Or if you're not going to take it out, have these kids sit for a year like it used to happen back in the day. Because it's like what happened to Khalid just now with Micah Hudson. He went from Texas Tech, played with them for half the spring, went to Texas A&M, played with them the other half of the spring, and then went back to Texas Tech today. Wow. That's ridiculous. Like, how can you manage your? If I was a player on that team, especially if I was on UCLA, we've been practicing with Joey Aguilar, and if y'all didn't see, Joey Aguilar is now on Tennessee, which is hilarious. He went from UCLA to Tennessee, which is awesome. I can't wait to see him just like light up Tennessee. But to me, it's like if I've been practicing with Joey Aguilar all season, let's say if all of us are wide receivers, Joey's our guy, we're riding for him. oh, the rumors about Nico coming. Joey's like, man, I ain't feeling too good, man. I might enter the transfer portal if this dude sign up here. Then he announced the news about Nico. Joey enters the transfer portal. Now he's at Tennessee. If I'm the wide receivers, all of us would be like on a text thread or calling each other like, bruh, we built this rapport with Joey. Let's see if we can go to Tennessee, dog. I'm entering the transfer portal today. Because I would feel a certain way. I don't know this Nico dude, and he's already made college football look bad, and now he's going to bring his drama here. Then he was negotiating contracts during the college football playoff period, too. So is he really locked in to what the team wants to do as a success? Because us as wide receivers, we're not making $1 million. Right. And we're really either here for the education or going out there and playing with our boys. That's what I think, like, the dynamic there is like, when you have some guy like Nico, regardless of what his family is involved, Nico's a grown man at this point in time. Once you sign a contract to me in college, you are a grown man. You need to start making your own decisions and tell your dad to go respectfully F off and let me make my money. Like, your family should not. Yes, you should have advisors, and there are advisors at the school. I'm sure Khalid can tell you this.
Muted. And you think you would remember because, as granted, didn't start, but it was the same thing with, and I can't remember, I think it was like Austin Walker or something like Austin Simmons, backup for Ole Miss. He was going to be there for Florida because he was a two-way player. He was going to play baseball and football. And then his dad got in the way of everything, and now he is backing up, or he was backing up Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. So either way, he was going to be a backup, whether it be to Mertz or DJ Lagway. Either way.
Yeah. You're going to have to make these guys employees, or this is not going to stop, unfortunately.
Isn't that what Northwestern wanted 15 years ago?
They were the ones, they had revolutionized this, and they started this. Yep. And they were going about it the right way. And then everybody was like, got to change your rules. U.S. Senate steps in place. Everybody gets their hand in the cookie jar, and they said, well, these players could get paid whatever. And then you hear about BryceYoung getting $2 million, which set the market at the time when he was in college. And then the floodgates open from there.
I think to what you said, some of those problems, and like you said, the transfer portal needs to be a set time. Just we in the middle of postseason, and hey, by the way, I'm going to Indiana State or whatever I'm going to. That's just wild, man, and that needs to be changed. But who's going to change it? Because the adults in the room are acting like the kids. To be honest.
Well, and Kev, like, we're not 18, right? You know what I'm saying? But how many times we're not 18 or 19, and these are usually the guys that transfer a ton, unless it's like, we were talking about this before. There should be a waiver in place that says, my coach transferred out. If you're a freshman, I'm entering a transfer portal.
Bingo.
And that's it. That's all you get. Everything else is unexcused. You have to sit out a year. If that happens, that's fine, because that's a lot for a young kid that's coming out of high school to deal with, because they usually commit to either the school or the coach or both at the same time. Now, on the other side of that, it's like, when I look at this whole thing in a nutshell, all these players that are transferring here and there, it's because when we were 18, 19 years old, it was one girlfriend on to the next girlfriend because we got bored with the one girlfriend, and then we found something new. Or I have this one interest in build. I'm used to this one. I'm used to this one laptop, but now I want to switch to Apple. Apple seems a lot better. These kids, like, your mind changes like every 5 seconds on what your interests are. So no wonder these dudes are entering the transfer portal. You give them an outlet to say, peace out. I don't care. I don't even like, I play at Ohio State. I hate our colors. I hate the people call us the Buckeyes. I'm going to Michigan now.
It's too cold. Doing this, doing that. Yeah. Well,
Yeah. It's a flip-floppy mentality.
It just seems as if from that there has to be some guide rails placed around the system, and me being a business guy, I'm wondering why billionaires don't see this. So where are they making their money that it doesn't matter that this is rolling off the train tracks? Like, it's really off the rails right now.
Well,
as if no one really cares, right? Because no one's really doing anything.
Yeah, and I think, DA, to be honest, like, it's like having a newborn baby and nobody telling you how to raise it, right? So, and I say that because
there's no YouTube tutorial.
yeah,
that is hard. So
Yeah.
well, it's like you got this 5-star kid coming out of high school, like Bryce Underwood at Michigan.
He's got a kid,
and he's otherworldly. He's great. And the collectors get together and they spend $13 million on this kid. You expect to see your return on the investment. Why? Because he's a Michigan guy. He's from the area. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got all the talent in the world. And if I think I pay him more than what we other players are getting paid, then he might stick around a little bit, regardless of how he feels about the coach. So it's like you're trying to retain the player if the coaches change, if the environment changes. You're trying to make him feel bad that he's stuck with the money. And you know how they're going to say in their little contracts and things, and unless you get a lawyer involved, there's going to be loopholes there that the players can get out of if they're smart enough. But most of these kids are not smart like that. So some of them are going to feel like their hands are tied, even if it's really not. And guys like Nico are like, my hands are not really tied like that. And I can just peace out, take the money that I've earned and go somewhere else and say F off. So I think, from your point, I think that like some of the collectives are going into this saying, we're going to give our trust to the kids that they're going to stay here. And of course, when you let's say if all of us are in a collective together and then the next best quarterback's coming out, he's going to come to our school, and we say, all right, we're dumping $20 million into this kid. You're standing there in front of the kid, you're shaking his hand, you're like, we're going to spend $20 million on it. He's smiling like, man, this is a great opportunity. You know what? As humans, all of us walk away from that situation like, yeah, we got one, man. Like, this kid gonna bring us a national championship, because a handshake means more than the ink that's on the paper to most people. And I think, especially when it comes to the boosters, they don't care about anything else than actually, winning at that school and representing their school. And they think the money that they gave up is just enough. And so when they look in that kid's eye and say, hey, you gonna do what you're supposed to do, right? Nico's like, hell yeah, I'm a Tennessee Volunteer. You feel good about that as a booster. You're like, yeah, we got one of them ones. But at the end of the day, what people are starting to realize now and why the conversation is getting brought up so much is because kids are flip-floppy. Their minds change every 5 seconds. Josh probably said something to Nico that pissed him off. You understand that Nico did not call Josh when he left. And Josh felt some type of way about that. He was like, he didn't even call me.
Yeah.
And I thought I had more respect as his head coach that he would call me and just say straight up, like, I'm leaving. I'm not happy here. But no, he listened to his dad and he pieced out of there. So, yeah, I think it's a combination of all those things, DA, is what I'm trying to say. Is like, it's so new that, like, nobody really knows what guardrails to put around this, because you can't treat him like an employee. So the only thing that we can do is convince him by money. But now you're figuring out that you really can't convince anybody with money. So what do we do now?
Have more money.
Yep.
Okay, so my next question. We argued about this last year. The playoff system and choosing the teams for said playoff. I think the criteria is off, man, because the reality is there were 3 teams that just really shouldn't have been there based upon how they got beat. Now, I know I'm not sure how to do this the right way, to order the teams at the end of the year based upon record. I'm an old guy, right? So I say go back to the computers. I say that, right? Because I'm like, listen, I don't need any crap. I just need to know who the best team, wins, losses, common opponents, RPI, boom. Give me the 8 best teams, or 16 best teams, or whatever the heck it is. Give me that. Bow. I don't care if you win your conference. If your conference is trash, who cares?
Yeah. It was cool the first year, and I think we actually felt a little differently than how you felt. Me, Khalid, and Sora came out and we said, this is great. I mean, we really had no quarrels with how everything was ordered. We thought there was enough variance. The reason why is because, Indiana didn't play for a Big Ten championship, but they did consider that they were a one-loss team. That was cool to us. Like, regardless if they go and get their ass busted in the first round, that was cool. And then Boise State actually moving up into that 4 seed, that was cool too. Like, we got some really cool matchups. I think they actually hit it out the park their first year. But I see what you're saying. It's only going to have to improve. But the BCS thing was like, it went through strength of schedule. So teams like the Boise States of the world and things like that. Remember how I think they were like 23-1 or something like that in the 2 years with Kellen
Yeah,
Moore,
I
and they
think
didn't
I'll
even
word that
sniff a
way.
BCS. They didn't even sniff it. So it was like, this is where it comes into play and say, well, Ashton Genty had a good year, and it all worked out because of that, right? Because Ashton Genty had a great year, and it made college football look really, really good that they were in there, and they actually had a pretty competitive game with Penn State and things like that. So I think some tweaking here and there will work, but again, we got to stick with this system. You know why? Because next year we're moving to a 14-team playoff. So we only get 2 years of this system. But I'll let Khalid and Sora spit. I know I've been talking a bunch. So
No, I mean, it was kind of pretty much what Dante had said. Obviously, Indiana wasn't in the Big Ten championship. They had only one loss to Ohio State. So you got to see teams like that go through. You got to see the top 4 teams that had happened in the top 4 teams in the conference winner, like all the conference winners. Those were the top 4 teams, and you had the 5th team of like the lowest conference, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then it kind of went to like the runner-ups that had happened. You saw Tennessee in there. They had a strong schedule. They had a good-looking schedule. We probably should have, and maybe in that 14 team, but you saw teams like South Carolina, like they were climbing out to go into be in the playoffs. And I think South Carolina could have made it far. I think they could have made it past the first round if they were in there, especially with Lenora Sellers. Penn State's in there, Notre Dame's in there. They don't have a conference, so because let's look at it this way: if it were still at the old format of that 14, Notre Dame losing week 2 to NIU. That's it. They're out. They're done.
See you.
They would not have been in it, and that's kind of there was more. I don't want to say breathing room, but it was like if you lost a game early on, like maybe Notre Dame still could have been in with the 14 playoff format.
Maybe.
But like if you lost a game at week 5 and so on and so forth, your season was basically done. All hopes for like a national championship were out of the way. You were playing for like maybe SEC or like not even SEC. I'm saying that as a Florida fan, but like you're looking at like your conference championship, like maybe a New Year's 6 bowl game, and then you just kind of have to go down from there. So, it provided more opportunities, provided for stuff like small schools like SMU, Indiana, like I just mentioned. That's eye-opening to, recruits, boosters, all that stuff. Those schools are going to get paid more now to help kind of build up their programs.
Can I say something, sir? I think this past playoff.
No, you may not say anything.
I think this past college football playoff is really going to have us look at what the standards should be for our playoffs moving forward, and we just don't appreciate it right now. Because think about the variety that we got this year.
It'll be like when we lost the BCS. It wasn't appreciated until after it was gone.
Yeah, I mean, Boise State, Arizona State, Tennessee, like those were the teams that were in the playoff this year. And getting another Oregon Penn State matchup, that was cool to watch. Like it was enough variety that I came away from every single game and I was satisfied. And SMU being in there, like when are we ever? I don't know if we're ever going to see the variety that we had, even going to a 14-team playoff ever again. And so when in the next 10 years, and when we look back at the 2025 national championship, I think a lot of it is going to be like, man, how do we get back to there? Like, it seemed like we had a perfect formula, even though it seems to a lot of people that it wasn't really that perfect at all. But really, we had almost every single game was close in some regard. So I liked it from that standpoint, and seeing a lot of those teams that we usually don't talk about in high regard actually have a good chance. Like Arizona State was, if they would have had Jordan Tyson at wide receiver, who we think very, very highly of, that game could have looked a lot different, maybe. Yeah, and it's just like little things like that are like cool to think about. Like, man, could Arizona State really have gone further if they had Jordan Tyson? They get another year to prove it this year, and that's going to be cool to see.
Last thing, real quick, and we can talk about this offline or whatever.
This 5-minute question, boy.
No, this is it. This is it. I'm sorry. This is it. What do we do with everybody that is not Power 5 or, like between them and the 1AA schools, because they get nothing. Like if you go to Cincinnati, you get buckets. And the chances of you playing against Alabama and those teams, their schools are not going to have collectives that get those type of kids there. Should there not be a tournament for them as well? The Central Floridas and this to that,
Well, that's where I feel like the sponsors on like midfield and by your end zones come into play.
Yeah. I also think that there's 10 conferences, right? And we should have a 16-team playoff. And I think you take all the conference runners and they get seeded from 1 through 10. And then the group of 5 schools get automatically, seeded the lowest. And then even the runners up of the group of 5 schools, they get a bid in. So you get a little bit of turmoil there. And then you take who the best group of 5 school that wasn't a conference champion and you put them in there too. So then you get 16 teams that way. That's what I thought that that should happen. And it gives you enough variety, and it doesn't matter what schedule you play. You played your schedule, and we have no more UCF being the 2017 national champions or the Boise States back in the early 2000s and those guys. Like, yeah, they might get their ass busted by if it's Alabama versus Buffalo. Yeah, Alabama might crush them, but you know how much. And the cool thing about last year is we got to see home field advantage really take place, and those schools get a lot of money per ticket sales. Like that was like Khalid, you were clamoring for Texas A&M to get in because you wanted to be there in that stadium if you guys were a high enough seed to have home field advantage. And you can't tell me that Texas A&M wouldn't have had an advantage in the playoff game at Kyle Field. Yeah. Like it would have been deafening in that building. He was at some games this year, but like, bruh, it won't matter who they play. It could be North Dakota State. Like it doesn't matter.
For a playoff game, it would have been crazy.
That's what I'm saying. It's such. We're living in an era right now that is so good for college football. But again, those smaller schools have to deal with that environment. But what would be cool is if you get the Appalachian State versus Michigan several years ago, and Appalachian State beat Michigan in the Big House. But what if that was a playoff game? Everybody would be like, "Hey, yo!" You run around your house ass naked talking about this game. You'd be talking about this a whole week long, like for years. You'd be like, "Man, I was there to watch Appalachian State take down Michigan at a college football playoff game, and they beat them at home." That's what we don't know. We don't know if we're going to get that or not, but. I think the 16-team playoff that I'm talking about would be cool in that aspect that even the smaller schools get a chance to.
We'll hope that that's what the NCAA decides to do on the go forward, man. And I just want to thank you guys, man.
Yeah, I don't think conference champions get enough love. That's what I'm gonna say.
Conference's ass, you shouldn't get no love, man.
Then the only way to fix that is if you take the group of 5 schools and you push them to FCS. Like that's the only way, because it's not fair for them to play a full year. Yes. And who was the undefeated school? Liberty a couple years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Liberty went undefeated, then they played Florida State not Florida State. They played Oregon, and they got their ass kicked by Bo Nixon.
Destroyed.
Yeah, and so, but again, they didn't get rewarded by being undefeated. They just got a bowl game against Oregon that didn't really matter, and everybody sat out that game. They got
to figure out something.
Yeah,
16 teams is better than 14. I think that's the angle when he had to sign off. He had some technical dude. There was a couple. I saw in the comments somebody said something about buying. I think DA. Did you say something? Somebody said something about buying. They're making these things franchise, but those are ideas.
That's not how it works. That's just not. You can't buy an athletic department of a university, right? Obviously, you can't buy any part of a public institution, right? A public college that's literally owned and run by the government. but even a private school like Duke or USC, you can't buy an athletic department because it's just a department of a university. It's not a business. Even you would have to buy the university as a whole, and no one is doing that. No one's going to be able to do that except for the few richest people on earth.
And universities you can't buy out because technically you would have to go through not only the education system, but it would have to be approved by a Supreme Court as well that you are purchasing that entity, and because it's a nonprofit, that you can't really do it like that. You got to jump through so many hoops, and it doesn't matter how much money you have.
Charlie, it's not about laws or regulations. You literally cannot buy an athletic program. It is a part of a university. It is a part of a school. It is an athletic program it is a team that is under an athletic department. That is a department of a school.
Hey, Kev, why hasn't David Tepper bought UNC yet? He's got all the money in the world.
That's not what it is. I hate that we had to talk about this actually live on air. I was just trying to squash it in the comments because honestly, this is one of the dumbest things I've heard all week.
No, Charlie, just to squash it, bro. There are rich people that are filthy rich that are waiting to get and be the guy that did what they did, right? And you're telling me all these years that there wasn't a billionaire, Jeff Bezos, didn't go to Alabama and say, I want to buy your athletic program. Billionaires are going to monopolize everything, and that's why it hasn't happened yet, because they can't. They don't want to jump through the hoops to do it. It doesn't make sense, because if you're buying that institution, that means you're going to be the president. You're going to run the whole academic system. You just break everything for everybody, and then it's a monopoly from there. That's why they don't do it. You can't monopolize a university.
I mean, LeBron James literally tried starting a high school, and he can't even do that while he's being a professional basketball player. You think that these other billionaires, trillionaires who have all these other businesses, all these other things to do, that they're going to want to run an entire massive multi-billion-dollar institution that has to deal with enrollment and classes and a giant an athletic program? You're not just buying a football program, right? Like Dante said, if you in theory wanted to go about this, you have to buy the entire university, all academics, all athletics,
and then go through Congress, go through the Supreme Court,
and not to mention
it's crazy.
That it's not a thing. It's not about rules or regulations. It's literally not possible. And conceptually, it's not a thing.
Damn, Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie, you can get the bell for that one, man. Charlie.
Damn, Charlie. We didn't mean to do this to you, bro. But
again,
come on, man. Every billionaire.
I'm just that's not a thing.
Every billionaire would be at the top schools right now buying their athletic programs, especially their football programs, and it doesn't happen for a reason, bro.
David Tepper would buy the UNC and probably fired Belichick. I don't know.
Yeah, he wouldn't have hired Belichick. He'd be like, hell no.
They are profitable. So.
Oh man. DA, you kind of no. Let's just do a little rapid fire real quick, because for the.
I'm about to say, what pick are we even on right now? I think we're on the Cowboys.
We're on the Cowboys, so we'll just real quick: Cowboys, Dolphins, and Colts. What you guys got for the sake of time?
I mean, Cowboy. I don't think he's worth the first round, especially with the allegations. But Mike Green seems like a very Jerry Jones pick. So to me, you know how you were like, oh, what would you do? And what, all that stuff. The Jerry Jones pick to me is Mike Green. As for actual, what I would do, I would go with Emeka Egbuka. And I hate that as an Eagles fan, but I would go with Emeka Egbuka. I think him and CeeDee Lamb.
That would be insane. Him and CeeDee Lamb would be insane together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a nightmare.
I could also see them go Tyler Warren. They need tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, the only people to stop Cooper DeJean and Quignon would be CeeDee and Emeka Egbuka. It'll be their kryptonite.
Gotcha. What was he at? The Dolphins. The Dolphins looks like they need some interior help on the D line.
I think we all said Jahdae Barron, right?
Yeah, Jahdae Barron. especially with losing, plays multiple position. You need help on the defensive line. Sorry, you need help in the secondary. You lost Javon Holland, who apparently you might be moving on to Jalen Ramsey. Maybe he comes back to Jacksonville. Who knows? But yeah, you need secondary help.
Gotcha. Colts, Falcons, and the Cardinals. Cardinals look like they need some interior offensive line help themselves.
Colts, whatever the best tight end is available, whether that be Tyler Warren or like Colston Loveland, Gunnar Helm, Harold Fannin Jr.
Yeah, they need it bad.
They need it bad. And
they need a tight end bad.
If not, then like the best edge, like James Pierce.
Did y'all just say Loveland?
Colston Loveland from Michigan. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Then I said, okay, Falcons, Cardinals, and the Bengals.
Falcons and Cardinals are going to be pretty similar. They're going to either go interior or edge too. I think we said Michael at for the Falcons.
I
think we either said Jalen or Michael.
The Falcons are going.
I've always said Jalen or James Pierce for the Falcons.
Yeah, so I have you pick it of the poison there.
Have you pick an edge? I'm going James Pierce. Where's Timbo at? I have to avenge Timbo for the last one.
Yep.
Gotcha. And what we said, all right, then we got the Cardinals, Bengals, and Seahawks.
Cardinals, another edge rusher, we think. Donovan Ezeraku. I know Dana's a Cardinals fan. She wants Donovan Ezeraku.
But I say, another whichever the best edge is, whoever the Falcons don't get. So, if they don't get Mikal Williams, all that.
Yep. And then who else was it?
We got the Bengals and Seahawks.
Bengals, probably defensive tackle or edge too. I think these last.
I think Walter Nolan. I think Walter Nolan for the Bengals. It just makes the most sense. He can play anywhere on the defensive line.
Darius Alexander may stay up there in Ohio. That would be a cool reunion with him too.
Okay. And we got the Seahawks, Bucks, and Broncos.
Seahawks need to go offensive line.
To me, Tyler Booker for the Seahawks because they need to go interior offensive lineman.
Yep, him or Donovan Jackson for sure.
Bucks go cornerback in my opinion.
Okay.
Yep, this is where Will Johnson or Savon Reveal comes off the board.
Maxwell Harrison.
Yeah, I see that too.
They don't know about that one,
Dante. Yeah. Maxwell Harrison is a dog.
Okay. The Broncos.
Marion Hampton.
Yep.
The second running back goes right here.
Give both some help in that backfield. Yeah, absolutely, man. I definitely like that for them. So I said the Broncos, Steelers, Chargers, and the Packers.
Steelers
either Jalen Milroe or Shedeur Sanders.
I honestly think if Shedeur is still there for the Steelers, and if it's between Shedeur and Jalen Milroe, I think the Steelers are still going to pick Jalen. Ever since
Jalen Milroe got an invite,
they've been in love with Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe got an invite to the NFL draft, and that's not for any reason. There must be some actual buzz between a couple teams about him getting drafted early. Because you're not going to embarrass that kid to come there and not get chosen. That's kind of crazy.
No. I definitely agree. Yeah,
and I like Milroe. I think Milroe threw one of the best passes in the history of football. In that overtime when he hit that kid in the corner, I was like, "Wow!"
Are you talking about Isaiah Bond?
Yeah, man.
Yep.
And he was like, "No, we practiced that." I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
That's actually one of the highlights on one of our intros. Is him hitting that pass to Isaiah Bond. Yeah, and we remember.
He dropped it directly in the bucket. I was like, wow.
Yeah, he's a beast. We don't get the Milroe hate either.
Yeah, I don't get the Milroe hate. Yeah, I got you. Chargers, Packers, and Vikings.
Chargers will go Colston Loveland if he's there.
Whatever tight end is left, Colston Loveland. If Tyler Warren goes to Indy, Colston Loveland. Yep. If not, whatever wide receiver is left, like Golden or Ibuka.
Hey, I don't mean to cut it short, guys, but I gotta head out. I got another show right after this. But y'all can keep y'all can keep on spitting. Finish out the draft.
Thanks,
Kev. Thanks, DA.
We'll talk, brother. Thank you, man. Where was we at?
We're at the Packers right now.
The Pack. Yeah, the Pack looked like they need some DB help and some interior line stuff. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
For me, because I've got another one up here. I'm going corner, and I'm going with Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. I know that that's not a name that a lot of people know, but when we're done with this, look up the film study that Dante and I did on Maxwell Harrison. That dude is really good and was not talked about enough.
Especially with Jair Alexander's future being up in the air in Green Bay.
Yes, and you also really don't have a second quarterback. And plus, you're pairing him back up again with Corrington Valentine or whatever his name is. Whatever his first name is.
Got you. And we have the Vikings, Texans, and Rams.
Vikings, I could see going corner if they like one of them who's there.
What do they need? They need some.
Vikings, I can see going safety. I think this is where the first safety goes off the board. Because think about it, lost Cam Bynum. Harrison Smith isn't getting any younger. This is probably
Harrison Smith probably got like 1 or 2 years left.
Yeah, he's got like a year or two left. I think this is where they take your pick. I mean, take your pick between Malachi or Nick Manawari. Probably Malachi, because that's just your instant replacement for Cam Bynum.
Gotcha. Texans, Rams, and Ravens.
The Texans, I think, will draft a left tackle if there's one who's there that they like. Cam Robinson, who they just signed, he's not the answer, and his contract is set up to where they can afford to cut him if they don't like him or just not play him. Yeah. I know he's on a 1-year, $12.5 million deal, but he only has a $5 million cap hit this season.
It's a 1 year. There's so many incentives.
Well, it's not incentives. He just has 4 years of. He has 4 void years, so his $12.5 million, while he only plays for them for 1 year, the rest of that money is spread out over the 4 years after his deal ends. So if they like a left tackle, I think they'll go there. If not, I could see him going receiver after losing, Stephon Diggs to free agency and Tank Dell being out.
Tank Dell's not going to play for another year, and who knows what he's going to look like when he gets back. I think this is where like Matthew Golden goes. Or whatever the best receiver is available.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So we did the Texans. We got the Rams, Ravens, and the Lions. We're going to these playoff teams here now.
I think the Rams will also go receiver as well. Maybe corner, but I don't know. Khalid's the bigger Trey Amos fan than I am. So I don't know.
I don't think the Rams go receiver after trading for Davante Adams.
You know what? Yeah.
I
kind of forgot about that. You're right. Yeah. Never mind.
I could see them. I could see them going safety, adding to the defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their defensive line is already loaded with studs. I could see them going offensive line if they like someone.
That linebacker core was like the weakest part of that front seven. So
they could go linebacker. It might be a little bit of a reach at that point in the draft, but you have a few names that are being floated out there, like Demetrius Knight has gotten mocked late first. Chris Paul Jr. has been mocked late first.
Who said it first, Khalid?
The Rams, I think, will be a tough one to mock here, because I'm not quite sure what they'll do. Well, but my guess is it'll be on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and again, it's like all the picks, like with ours that we're going through, the best corner that I have available is Trey Amos. And again, you're the bigger Trey Amos fan, but do you see him going in the first?
Yeah, I see him going late first. Yeah,
like 26 is late to you, or
I mean, yeah, I can see him going 26 if all the other corners are already gone. Then yes,
I think this is where Jahad Campbell would go.
Okay. I can see them going with the linebacker. Yeah.
Also, again, for everybody that doesn't know, nobody was talking about Demetrius Knight Jr. in the first, especially to the Rams, until I started saying something. Now all of a sudden, I'm just stating facts. It's on live.
We got another Kuiper. There's another Kuiper there.
Or another biter, because people absolutely watch these channels. So as y'all probably know, they
100%. Oh, we know. the opposite.
Oh
We
man,
see
look
the
at-
opposition.
yeah, we seen the ops. Yeah,
I even said it on the live too. I was like, and Torque can attest because Torque was in that live. He's still here. Because I even said, I was like, Torque, when people start saying Demetrius Knight Jr. in the first round, especially to the Rams, remember who said it first.
Yep, I think.
Yeah, I think like Jihad Campbell. Definitely defensive side of the ball, but I could see Jihad Campbell.
Gotcha. Where we stop at? We got the Ravens, Lions, and the Commanders.
I think Ravens will either go safety or edge rusher.
I think they'll go edge. I think they'll go with Ezeraku if he's there.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
They have shown a tendency to draft edge rushers at this point in the draft, especially guys who are a little bit smaller and fit in their scheme. And Ezeraku does fit the bill for that. But if there is a guy at safety who they like, I could see them pairing him with Kyle Hamilton on the back end of their defense. So, for the Ravens, I think it's going to come down to one of those two positions. I think you're going to see a lot of defense in these last 10 picks of this draft or this first round. I should say.
I feel like if Malachi Starks is gone, I don't see the Ravens getting Emanawari. I just feel like he's too similar to Kyle Hamilton. Like, they'll kind of want something different on the other side. That's just me, though.
I don't know. I view them as pretty different. I think that Emanawari's best traits are going to be in coverage, away from the line of scrimmage. While Kyle Hamilton, he's a chess piece. You can move him literally everywhere, and I think that you can argue he's best closer to the line of scrimmage.
How would with Harbaugh, you thinking in his mind, you think he can, pair them together, or how he thinks as of coach and his philosophy, or who's their coordinator there now?
From Georgia, and I can't.
Yeah, Todd Monk is on offense.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought we were talking about from offense. I don't know why that all of a sudden.
No, I mean, we did our last mock and I looked it up because I also wanted to get the name, but the way I see it, I mean, their skill sets are complementary in that I think that you see Emanawari, he's a physical freak, yes, but to be honest, he doesn't play his size. He doesn't play like he's 6'3", 220 all the time. So, when you hear 6'3", 220, thank you, Torque, Zach, or when you see 6'3", 220 in a safety, you think he's going to come down, into the box, and he's going to be like a sub linebacker, right? He's going to be able to lay the boom and run defense. And while Emanawari is a good tackler, he doesn't play very physically coming downhill. And I think that when you watch him, and even the statistics will back this up from his stats and coverage, he's probably best as a deep center fielder. And I think that, seeing how Kyle Hamilton is utilized and deployed on the defense, I think that those two can absolutely coexist. I would argue that they could make each other better. I think that Kyle Hamilton could help Emanawari grow as a more versatile player, which is kind of weird to say because Emanawari has shown at South Carolina he can play anywhere, but I think he's best as a deep center fielder, just kind of roaming on the back end of the defense. So I think that they're compatible. I don't know. I could see Harbaugh just sticking with the defensive line approach. I wouldn't blame him. Defensive line is generally the way I like to go, late first. I think you can find some of the best value there. And, the Rams have built, they have impressive defensive lines year in and year out, right? They always have premier pass rushers, and they are known for their defense. So I don't see the offense getting an addition here in the first round.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think it's going to be defense. It'll either be edge or, like you said, it'll be an addition in the secondary.
Right.
I think they're just going to build from the trenches and go. But
let me move on here to the Commanders, the Bills, and the Chiefs.
Commanders are going edge rusher. They lost, over the last 2 years, they've lost a handful of their top guys. Guys like Montez Sweat and Chase Young have left, and they brought in Dorrance Armstrong on a 1-year deal. I believe they re-signed him. But I still think that if you're Washington, right, and you look at your defense, you have some good pieces. You have Frankie Louvu at linebacker who you can use in a variety of ways, but you want a premier edge rusher. And so there are going to be guys like, like a Nick Scorton, maybe a James Pierce Jr., who are still on the board here. And I think if you can, you got to go with one of those guys. Nick Scorton seems like a likely pick. But you got to support Jaden Daniels in the offense by building up the defense here. And I think that adding a pass rusher is the way to go.
Yeah. Again, it's definitely pass rusher or pass right. Yeah.
And I could see the Bills doing the same thing. Maybe you even draft a receiver, though. I could see the Bills going for a receiver. Is Keon Coleman the answer out there? I'm not sure, right? You have Khalil Shakir, who's pretty serviceable this past year.
See, I can see them going either defensive lineman or edge. Like I can see them go with Darius Alexander out of Toledo.
Right. I think it's going to be defensive line or receiver for Buffalo.
For the Bills, it's going to be one of the defensive linemen.
Especially if you can get someone who is a reliable and nuanced route runner, like if Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State is available, right? I could see him winding up in Buffalo. He's going to give Josh Allen a reliable threat out of the slot who is a very nuanced route runner against man, and he also has a great feel for zone coverage and getting open there. And to me, it's like he would surpass Keon Coleman as Josh Allen's favorite or new target of the future, right?
Yes.
So, and you got to think that would open things up for Keon Coleman, make things easier for Dalton Kincaid as well. I could see it being very beneficial.
Khalil Shakir as well. Because
I'll throw one more thing out there for Buffalo. I think something sneaky, if they decide to move on from James Cook, is do they reach on a guy for like Travion Henderson, right? Who could provide value late in the first. Do they think that James Cook, who's demanding a new deal, do they trade him? Do they say, man, we're just not going to pay you and we're going to draft someone else to be your replacement?
Wow.
Because we've seen over the past teams draft they like to maybe reach a little bit late in the first round. Why? Because you get that 5th-year option as compared to taking them in the second. We saw the Chiefs a few years back do that at the running back position with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That didn't work out with him, but you trade up and take him because you get that 5th-year option, which for a running back is so important. Because
that's kind of why the Panthers did that with Xavier Legette as well. Even last year, they traded with the Bills to get that 5th-year option.
Right, and especially at running back, it's so important because the running back market is so cheap for these rookies late in the first. Meanwhile, once their contract ends and they demand their second contract, like James Cook, you're going to be paying them a lot more money. So having that 5th year, keeping them on a cheap deal is so important. So I could see the Bills going running back here if they don't like the value along the defensive line or at receiver. I personally think there will be good value at both of those positions. I don't think they'll go with it in the
first, but I can see them going early. I just don't see first.
All right. Now we got the Super Bowl participants, the Chiefs and the Eagles. Sorry, you're an Eagle fan, right? So
both Klee and I are, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to both of you guys.
Appreciate it.
And y'all definitely did y'all's part.
Yeah.
Thank you for Aziz Ojulari as well. I was a big fan of him coming out of the draft, even though he played for Georgia.
Just remember the Giants when we play at the Link this year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Give us that ring, man.
In the corner, there will be a little NY, For the Chiefs, I feel like after watching the Super Bowl, it's pretty easy. They're going to go with whoever the best offensive tackle is. Maybe even interior lineman. Maybe they'll go with like a Josh Simmons from Ohio State, a Josh Connerly out of Oregon, and then again with the interior. If Tyler Booker's there still, but like I also, keep an eye out on Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. I know we mentioned them earlier, but they always produce hella good offensive linemen. It doesn't matter that they're at North Dakota State.
Right.
But after watching them get manhandled by Philly in the Super Bowl, I think offensive lineman is the move.
I have a hard time seeing them go offensive line personally, just because of their free agent signing with Jalen Moore on the left tackle. They paid him some big bucks. That makes me believe that if they do go left tackle in the draft, it's going to be later, just due to where where you're investing your money, right? I mean, paying a left tackle on a 3-year, like big dollar deal and then drafting a left tackle in the first just seems like a conflict of interest, right? And the interior of their line to me is really strong. I see them going defensive line kind of for similar reasons, right? You saw what the Eagles did with a 4-man rush in the Super Bowl. Let's go beef up the defensive line. So I could see them going edge, taking Alfred Collins out of Texas to pair him with Chris Jones in the interior. I could see them adding someone in the secondary to go with Trent McDuffie, especially after you lose Justin Reed in free agency, right? I could even see them going tight end if they like one of the guys there, maybe Harold Fannin, right? If they think that Travis Kelce has got 1 year left in him, I think they'll go tight end at some point in the draft. If they like a guy somewhere, right there at pick 31, I could see it being tight end. But to me, I think the most likely positions here are going to be tight end and defensive line or secondary because they also seem pretty set at linebacker. And then Philly.
I think there will be a safety left, like a Nick Warrior or Malachi Starks. If they're there, Howie Roseman's rushing to that podium. But I mean, again, it's kind of like the same thing that you can go with the Chiefs. Do you want to go with defensive line or another edge? Like, again, both of the boys from Ohio State, both their edge rushers are still there. Do you go with like a Jack Sawyer? What defensive lineman's going to be there? Darius Alexander out of Toledo.
I like Jack Sawyer.
Not Kelvin Banks. You just said Alfred Collins from Texas. There's so many things that Eagles can go with, but for my dream pick, if like Malachi Starks or Nick Warrior is up there, you rush that up and you go safety. Maybe you go with another cornerback, but I'm hoping they do that later with Kobe Bryant out of Kansas because that's my guy.
The Eagles. You could,
it's the same thing with the Chiefs as well, like tight end as well. Dallas Goedert's got 1 year left, and he's potentially going to be traded. And it's the same thing we did with Zach Ertz when we drafted Dallas Goedert when Zach Ertz was on his last legs. It's the same thing we did with Brent Celtic. Brent Selleck, when he was on his last legs, we drafted Zach Ertz.
Y'all got a real good formula what y'all got going on there.
Absolutely. I think that
y'all.
It's a guarantee that in this draft that the Eagles will draft a tight end, probably on day 2. That's been the formula. Like Sora just said, when you have Brent Selleck, you go out there and you draft Zach Ertz in the second. When Zach Ertz is getting up there, you go out there and you draft Dallas Goedert in the second. And not only is Dallas Goedert, kind of reaching probably the end of his days in Philadelphia, but he might even get traded. He might even be on the roster this fall. So the way I see it, right, is the tight end is probably going to be taken by Philadelphia on day 2. There's a lot of value at tight end there. We know Howie Roseman invested his first 2 picks last year in cornerback. You still need another corner after Darius Slay left.
Kobe Bryant,
but
baby.
Even then, drafting cornerbacks in round 1 and 2 breaks precedent for Howie Roseman.
Right.
And I would love a safety. There's a need for it there if Malachi
Starks
is available.
That's been the whole story this offseason. Never drafted cornerbacks round 1. Quinyon Mitchell. Then you double down on Cooper DeJeet in the second round. Never signed a running back. You got Saquon Barkley. And then same thing with Zach Bond. So this whole thing has been breaking precedent.
Right.
But I don't see that continuing much longer. I think that you could see a safety if they really do like Malachi Starks.
Right.
Assuming he's the one there, or Nick
Emmanwori. We know how he is. He very rarely stays put.
Right, but I think that if you're right, the Eagles will probably move around. But if they do pick at 32, my guess is it's going to be along the defensive line. Howie Roseman drafts.
I can see
and defensive linemen with his
trenches. Trenches enough.
He drafts offensive and defensive line in rounds 1 and 2, probably more than any other general manager in the league. You look back and you see the offensive defensive lines are littered with first rounders, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even this past year, right? You look at the starters on the defensive line: Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, all drafted in the first round by Philadelphia at some whenever they were drafted, right? You look at and a lot of Georgia guys too. And you and you look at the
That's what I'm
offensive
saying, like,
line, right?
if by the grace of God Jalen Walker's still there, Howie Roseman's like running up
Let me ask
there.
a question.
Yes, he
Right,
is.
wasn't Jacoby Dean on that? Isn't he on the team? He was just hurt last year, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Jacoby
he
Dean
got-
got hurt like
he
at the
got
very
hurt
end
late-
of last year.
late in the season.
But even then, like he might be on the way out, which is why you got like
I think Jacoby Dean.
that's kind of why you got Jeremiah Trotter.
Yeah, I
just
think
kinda
Jacoby
as
Dean will make his way
insurance.
back.
The Eagles got that thing going on down there, and
I think they're gonna win more than one. That's for sure.
That's the hope.
yeah.
I think so.
I would love back to back.
Man, listen, man.
Most would, man. Guys, thank you so much, man. I know Dante had
Yeah,
to
no
break out
problem.
because they had a show with the I just saw it there. I put it on the what's the channel
Yeah,
there?
it came
Y'all can give him the plug there. But he had to leave, man. This has been great, man. For you guys, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Anytime I ask, man, these guys come through, man, and I just shut up and get out the way, man. Because like I said, these guys, you know what I'm saying? That's why I don't understand why people be arguing with you guys in the comments, man. Because you guys study film and
It's
all of that stuff. It's and I'll be watching the comments like with my popcorn and my Gatorade. I'll be like, man, you don't know what you just did. These
because
dudes.
we don't use the he's a dog as a why he's good. We've been watching these motherfuckers since like modern day, so
Ooh.
So like I said, I just get out the way, man. I appreciate you guys so much, man. I'm thankful for the relationship that we have forged here with the Sports Chasers and the East Coast Gridiron, man, and with the wonderful job that y'all doing over there on your guys' channel, man. I have y'all have the last thoughts, and we're getting on out of here, man. So y'all, I don't know if y'all guys are going over to the other channel, but you guys working double time today, I see.
every day this week there's a show going on.
That's great,
including Saturday. Like we always do all day. Although I'm hoping I'll be able to, but I have no idea if I'll be able to join the Saturday drafts, which kind of sucks. But I know that Khalid, Dante, and all of them will still be there doing charity. So that's what the important part is.
100%.
But yeah, definitely. I don't know if y'all are doing anything for the draft, but yeah, like we mentioned earlier, we're doing our yearly St. Jude charity during the NFL draft. Maybe we'll add some punishments and stuff like that. Like if we reach a certain milestone, I don't know, we'll have Khalid do something. As he's the new guy, we'll have Khalid do something that he hates. No, but yeah, it's just winning it out at the end. It's all for the kids. Even if it's just $1, or even if you just share out the word, that's all that we care. Don't come for us. I mean, stay for us if you like us, but like do it for the kids, man.
I think last year I joined, and it was the first time I saw it, and I said, man, this is a really good thing that you're doing for St. Jude's, man. So kudos to you guys.
We've worked with them for a couple of times.
Okay, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Khalid, what's your last thoughts before we get on out of here? Thank you again, sir. I appreciate you, man. And congratulations to Khalid. He's about to graduate.
Yes, sir.
From the University of Texas A&M, and he's going to masters, man. So what you said, 2 weeks you'll be graduating?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. I believe it's like early May. Yeah.
He'll have to get a new apartment and everything. That's crazy.
Yep.
Gonna be homeless.
What you got for us, bro?
Man, I'm just super pumped for the draft season, to reach its peak, you know what I mean? And of course, thank you guys for having us on here. I always enjoy coming on this show with y'all, bringing the heat once again. So, for everyone out there, like, tune into everything draft related coming up this week, because Thursday is going to be an exciting night. Mm-hmm. It is the first time
there will be water bottles thrown and dumped on us again. It will happen.
It's the first year in a long time where every single team at this point still owns their first round pick. I think that changes. I think there's going to be a lot of fun trades happening this weekend. Yes. And for me personally, it is my first draft with ECG and being a part of this community. So I'm super excited to experience that for the first time and just be a part of it, rather than just being, I feel like I'm graduating from being just a fan, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm super pumped. It's going to be exciting.
Then Dante need to give you a cap and gown too, man. I guess.
Dude, for real,
I know, right?
Graduate in more ways than one.
That's what's up, man. DA, what you got for us before I get out of here, man?
Thank you. That's all. Thank you. Make the love, fellas. You guys have a great week, and I will try to catch you as many times as I can.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Listen, I'm not gonna belabor the point, man. Hey, make sure you like, click, and subscribe to the channel, man. Make sure you holler at us, holler at ECG, man. And thank you, everybody. Also in the comments, our people, the Sports Chasers fam, and also the ECG fam for chiming in tonight, man. It was great.
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all, man. And listen, on behalf of myself, I'm Kevin O'Warren, the host and moderator of the Sports Chasers podcast. Y'all be good, be blessed. And for the crew, for ECG, Dante and the crew, for Sora, Khalid, DA, and the rest of the Sports Chasers crew, y'all be blessed. Hey, we'll catch you on the flip side. Talk to you later. Peace.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Sports Chasers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms, and connect with us on all social media channels for exclusive content and updates. We'd also love for you to join the conversation, share your thoughts, and become part of the Sports Chasers community. And remember to tune in next time for some more real sports talk. Until then.